Hualala. Hualala. Rumble. The secret world continued to crumble as two figures ran for their lives. He continued to jump. Escape from Ling Xiao Hall and escape from zombie. When he landed at the South Heaven Gate, the entire Nantian city had already sunk down. Not only the ground, but the sky was cracking as well. Black flames continuously surged out. This was the rate at which the plane would be devoured by the black hole. Other than the fact that the secret world was collapsing, the teleportation formation outside the Nantian city was also flashing non-stop, and was almost unable to hold on any longer. If the plane were to collapse, everything within it would be destroyed. If he didn't get out in time, Long Fei would die here. Looking at the teleportation circle that was swaying, Long Fei frowned and said, "There isn't enough time." The South Heaven Gate was still a long way from the teleportation circle. It would be difficult for them to rush to the teleportation circle as soon as possible. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's face secretly turned pale. It's possible. It's too late. Rumble. Rumble. The voice of the mountain rage tsunami came from all directions. The huge rock outside the South Heaven Gate shattered. Nantian City was immediately engulfed by the black flames. This scene was even more terrifying than the end of the world. This kind of power that transcended everything, a human's life in front of this kind of power was really too weak, too weak. Not even an ant. Hualala. The sky split open. A black bolt of lightning struck down, directly connecting with the black flames. Immediately, the sky and the earth connected, and the black lightning began to spread like wildfire, as if it was a huge lightning field. The surroundings were filled with dense lightning bolts. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman retreated a step back as his body trembled and cold sweat broke out from his forehead. He muttered, "We can't get out, we can't get out. It's all my fault. It's all my fault for staying in the Great Hall for so long, or else I wouldn't have. It's all my fault." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman could not control himself. She clutched her head with both hands, trembling like a frightened little girl from a cold and aloof beauty. He continuously retreated. As she thought about what happened in her previous life, her body trembled even more violently. Without any warning, it became like this all of a sudden. This caught Long Fei off guard. She originally had a slight chance of flying over, but now she delayed it. Long Fei grabbed her hand and said seriously, "Look at my eyes, look into my eyes. Don't worry, Long Fei, swear I will definitely bring you away." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman looked into Long Fei's eyes, and gently shook his head, I. Trust me." With a heavy sound, Long Fei turned and picked up Pride and Amp, Cool Woman in one go. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman shrank back, nestling into Long Fei's embrace and weakly looking at Long Fei's lower jaw, as if she was looking up at a powerhouse. Sticking close to Long Fei's chest, she listened to Long Fei's powerful heartbeat, and her heart also became a lot calmer. Long Fei moved and said, "Dragon Quang, Long Quangdao, Master, if you were to speak alone, you would be in a rush. If you bring her along, I'm afraid. Under extreme speed, an extra gram of weight would create even greater resistance." Needless to say, Long Fei was carrying someone. Long Fei, however, did not care that much and said, "I want to forcefully release rank 6 dragon body." Long Quang immediately said, "No, Master, it's really not possible. Have you forgotten the last time you were unconscious for 2 months? The last time was because of spirit blood stimulation. It was to forcefully use the power of the dragon's body. I really can't." The dragon Quang was very worried. Long Fei had only woken up for a few days, and he also needed spirit blood to stimulate his potential, which would cause great harm to his body. Not only that, if one used too much of their own spirit blood, the difficulties one would encounter later on would only become more and more. However, Long Fei did not think too much into it. If it's more difficult, then it's more difficult. I'll jump over anything that stands in my way. Bring it on. A drop of spirit bloods condensed out from the center of Long Fei's palm. Clenching his fist, the veins on his forehead bulged, and all the muscles on his body tensed up to the point that they seemed like tendons. Long Fei roared, "Ancient dragon body, level 6. Open for me." Boom. A bloody flush exploded from his body. Roar! An angry dragon's roar sounded. A pair of dragon's horns grew on Long Fei's forehead, and traces of blood seeped out from every pore of his body. It was like endless power. It was as if the whole world was in his hands. A lock appeared between his eyebrows. His eyes turned golden. With Long Fei at the center, the energy of the sixth stage dragon body exploded outwards as it continuously swirled. An enormous dragon circled Long Fei's body. With an incomparably sinister appearance, just like a real dragon, Long Fei took a light step forward, break. The ground sank and an explosion occurred. At the same time, the ground split open, and a mass of black flames surged forth. Ah! Whoosh whoosh whoosh, *8,000 miles in a single thought. In the blink of an eye, it landed in front of the swaying teleportation formation. Long Fei stepped in and activated the teleportation circle. The light of the teleportation circle enveloping Long Fei suddenly turned. Whoosh! The halo of light engulfed them within the teleportation array, and they disappeared on the spot. It was also at this time. Long Fei let out a light sigh of relief and said, "All right, I've finally escaped." The power of the 6th rank dragon quickly retracted. As the power of the dragon's body disappeared, Long Fei's body spasmed. His body wouldn't be able to withstand it even if he was in the teleportation space. At the same time, the teleportation circle exploded the moment Long Fei entered. The teleportation space was extremely unstable. The two people kept clashing in the air, which made the situation even worse for Long Fei. This time, Pride and Amp, Cool Woman unleashed her power to protect Long Fei. Even though her hair was disheveled from the impact, she still held onto Long Fei tightly. Rumble! 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 The teleportation space was affected and began to explode. The fissure chased after the two of them crazily. Closer and closer. As long as the teleportation space completely cracked open, they would be instantly swept into the turbulent flows and crushed into nothingness by all sorts of powerful laws. No. We can't let him die. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's eyes focused and he released spirit blood as well. Ah! Rainbow light appeared on her body like a rainbow. The 7-colored divine light wrapped around the two of them, and the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said with a faint voice, "Ancient Fury God, give me your powers. Take us out of here." Roar! A pitilessly powerful ferocious beast appeared, its huge body immediately blocking in front of the fissure, and with a wave of its arms, it blocked the fissure. At this moment, the two of them quickly disappeared from the teleportation space. Ancient Antiquity. Ancient Antiquity. The last day of registration for the inner sect examination. Many people were gathered at the registration point because there were still 2 hours left before the announcement would be made. They would then know who would participate in the inner court test this year. Other than the audience wanting to know, there were also some registered disciples who wanted to know. The final match of the inner sect examination was a martial arts competition. Anyone who participated in the exam could be their opponent. Knowing the background of the opponent was beneficial to the exam. The registration is almost over. I wonder how many people are participating in the inner sect examination. How many points can there be? Just the registration points alone is 300 points. There are only 100 or so that go past the 300 points in the outer sect. You can't possibly participate in all of them, right? Participating is useless. The inner sect examination is too difficult. There hasn't been anyone who has met the requirements for several years. I estimate that participating in the exam is just a waste of 300 points. How many things can I use these 300 points to do? You can't say that. This year is known as the most promising year. Each of the 10 strongest outer sect disciples are all good. They all have a chance to pass the exam. The Sword Immortal ranked first, the Sword Immortal ranked second, and the Zhongqi ranked second. And there's also that new Pride and Amp, Cool Woman. They are all powerful existences. I think highly of Sword Immortals. Sword Immortal senior brother has always been elusive, and in these past few years, they have never taken part in the assessment. They have always been making preparations, and they will definitely pass this year's examination. I think highly of Zhongqi. I heard that senior brother Zhongqi has already contacted the elder of Inner House. If there are no surprises, he should be able to pass. The crowd discussed about who would be able to pass the inner court disciple test. Compared to the inner sect, the outer sect was like the underground and the inner sect was like the sky. They were like villages in two different worlds. The outer sect had the identity of an ancient antiquity disciple, and the real core was the inner sect. Be it the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, or the cultivation resources given by the sect, they were all very abundant. Entering the inner sect means that your identity is different from the others. Just like the college entrance examination in his previous life, this was a test to surpass the Dragon Gate. In an attic, Zhongqi stood by the window with his hands behind his back, looked at the registration area, and asked, "Has the person still not come out yet?" A disciple behind him shook his head and said, "No, not only did that kid not come out, even our people did not come out either." Humph. Zhongqi coldly snorted. Does he think that a mere trash like him can complete the god's mission? The disdain in his eyes. He didn't believe that Long Fei could complete the mission of a god at all. Even if it was completed, it would be useless. The task credit of the Heaven Seizing Court was only 200, so let alone 3 people participating, even one person wouldn't be enough. Zhongqi asked, "Has the sword immortal returned?" That disciple shook his head. "So far, I have not received any news. Based on my guess, he probably hasn't registered this year." Zhongqi contemptuously said, "He's always been the strongest disciple of the outer sect, but he doesn't dare participate in the inner sect examination. It's really useless. When I enter the inner sect, you and I will be like heaven and earth, and at that time, I will step on your head." Zhongqi said coldly. He had always been ranked number 2 and was always suppressed by the sword immortal. This made him very unhappy. He would definitely be able to enter the inner sect this year, and at that time, he would definitely vent his anger. Go and send a message to senior brother Lin Yuan, even if that brat doesn't return. Zhongqi said indifferently. As soon as he finished. Just as the disciple was about to leave the room, he heard a sound from afar. Rumble. 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 From the direction of the teleportation circle, a few loud explosions could be heard. The entire outer sect was shaken by this. Several elders rushed out. Zhongqi frowned. Teleportation formation exploded? What happened? The disciple behind him said, "Senior brother, do you want me to go and take a look? Or report it to senior brother Lin Yuan?" Zhongqi said, "Let's wait first." He had a bad feeling about this. Has Big Brother come back yet? Second brother, the Heaven Fairyland is too dangerous. It's impossible to pass through that place. Could Big Brother? Zhao Dahan muttered. Bailey Tianhai glared at Zhao Dahan, and said, "What is that crow mouth of yours saying? Big Brother won't be in trouble." Although this was what he said, Bailey Tianhai's heart had also faintly sunk. He had entered the Heaven Fairyland and knew what was going on inside. Not to mention the Shakyamuni who controlled lightning, even though zombie were not people who could charge through. It was too dangerous. Bailey Tianhai said, "Shun, let's enter the heavenly court again." Zhao Dahan immediately said, "Of course, now that our cultivation has suddenly risen, if we meet that Thunder Lord again, we will definitely beat him up." Spirit Blood, who had absorbed Long Fei, had his cultivation increase explosively within 2 short days. Especially their talent. It could be said that he had completely transformed the 8 heads into 16. His current calculation speed was astonishingly fast. The super-hard body of the deep-sea profound stone that Zhao Dahan had was also strong enough to explode. Before Long Fei left, he instructed Phoenix to wait for 3 days with Zhao Dahan and Zhao Dahan. He would definitely rush back, it was already the last day, and the sun was about to set. There was only a little bit of time left to register for the inner sect examination. Long Fei had not come back yet, but either something had happened, or they were fortunate in Secret World and did not want to wait here. Phoenix walked out of the room and stopped them. Bailey Tianhai said, "Don't stop us, we promised to wait for 3 days. Now that the time is up, we must get out." Zhao Dahan said with a resolute expression, "Amen." Phoenix said, "Take me with you. I want to go as well." Huh. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan were stunned at the same time. Bailey Tianhai said, "That place is too dangerous, you should still." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Phoenix interrupted him and said, "If I don't go, neither of you will." Bailey Tianhai could only compromise and said, "Go, go, go, go." Phoenix placed her hands on her hips and mumbled to herself, "That's more like it." Rumble. An explosion came from afar. Bailey Tianhai took a look and instantly knew where it was at. He asked, "Why did the teleportation circle explode? What happened?" Zhao Dehan muttered, "Could the boss have returned?" Not waiting for him to finish. "Boss, boss, boss, boss is back," a voice called out from the doorway. Before he could finish, Phoenix instantly disappeared. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan quickly chased after him. The transmission array appeared. The magic array exploded. Several disciples that were guarding the array were also sent flying and suffered heavy injuries. In the center of the formation, there was a concave shape. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman hugged Long Fei as her body curled up into a ball. As if she didn't feel any pain, she looked at Long Fei, who was in her embrace with his eyes closed, and said, wake up, we're back. Wake up, hurry up and wake up." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman shook Long Fei. Long Fei closed his eyes and remained motionless. "We're back. Wake up quickly, don't scare me." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman had a face full of worry. Looking at Long Fei's slightly pale face, she felt an indescribable pain in her heart. If not for Long Fei, she would have already been engulfed by the black hole. Her life was saved by Long Fei. At this moment, quite a few people had gathered around. Seeing the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman hugging Long Fei tightly, a few people were stunned, and many of them had looks of envy in their eyes. "Wow, she even wants to hug me like this. Who is this kid? This is too lucky, isn't it? She's the #1 cold beauty in the outer sect right now. I don't think she's even lost to senior sister Liu Luoshi. To be able to be held by her like this and be so concerned, I'm even willing to King die. Where are they going? How come the transfer array was destroyed as well?" Not many people were concerned about the matter of the teleportation circle getting blown up, and even more people wanted to know what happened to Long Fei and Pride and Amp, Cool Woman. In this period of time, the popularity of the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's outer sect disciples had skyrocketed, and they had already become the #1 beauty of the outer sect. Moreover, she was still the type of icy beauty who could only look from afar and couldn't get close. If she wasn't careful for a bit, she would be oppressed, and she might even be killed. This caused her popularity to skyrocket. But now, she was actually changing the way she normally carried Long Fei. This caused many people to be shocked, and they all wanted to know where Long Fei came from. "It's him." Zhong Qi's gaze tensed up, and instantly recognized Long Fei, and said, "You're actually back?" However, Zhong Qi looked at the exploded teleportation circle, sneered, and said, "It's useless to be back, looks like I've failed the mission." Hu Liehua followed behind Zhong Qi. He hated Long Fei to the extreme, and when he saw that was unconscious, he was very happy. "He's just a piece of trash." Upon hearing his words, many people started discussing amongst themselves. The Heaven Fairylandess that went on the mission of 3 great gods. No wonder he was injured. Ha ha ha. He is simply courting death. Exactly. He also doesn't want to know how good he is. You must be tired of living. You think that anyone can take on a god's mission? Many people mocked. Seeing Long Fei in the arms of the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, many of them were unhappy. They wanted Long Fei to die right now. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman swept his gaze across them, his eyes filled with a sharp killing intent. Immediately, the surrounding sound instantly vanished. Everyone knew her temper, and they made her unhappy. She really knew how to kill people. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman turned and looked at Long Fei, who was in his embrace, and said, "Wake up, we're back." Long Fei's body moved. He felt that he could no longer continue pretending. The backlash from the level 6 ancient dragon body was indeed very strong. If it was in the past, his body would definitely have exploded. The toughness of the body was completely different. Releasing the dragon's body above his cultivation realm was indeed a little difficult for his body to bear. It was extremely painful, but it was not like the last time. However, he did not faint. The moment Long Fei was hugged in Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's embrace, he pretended to faint, and felt Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's soft chest. It was really comfortable. Therefore, Long Fei pretended to be unconscious all the way. Now that he had returned to ancient antiquity, with so many people present, there was no point in continuing to pretend. Moreover, he had to quickly hand in the mission to earn some points and register for it. Long Fei slowly opened his eyes, revealing an extremely tired look, as though he had just woken up from a coma. He looked pained, and slowly asked, where is this? Acting? Long Fei was an Oscar's Shadow Emperor-level expert. So what if the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman has lived for 2 lifetimes? She was still unable to see through Long Fei's acting. Seeing that Long Fei had woken up, her heart immediately relaxed, and said, we are back in ancient antiquity. Oh. Long Fei softly replied, I'm in so much pain. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's expression tensed up again, and said, where's the pain? Long Fei said, my entire body is in pain, I might not be able to live much longer. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman became even more nervous, and said, don't speak nonsense, it won't happen, you will be fine. Long Fei said, do you remember what you promised me? I remember. I will accompany you for the night. No matter what you want to do, I will accompany you. With a serious expression. When the surrounding people heard this, they were stupefied. Many people directly held onto their chests with faces full of pain. My heart is broken. How could this be? No. This is a flower stuck in dog shit. Heavens, earth, hell, hurry up and take this thing away. Long Fei's eyes suddenly shone with a bright light, and in that instant, he immediately retracted it, and said, can I really do anything? You won't lie to me, right? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman did not notice the glimmer of a sly old fox coming from Long Fei's eyes. He nodded lightly and said, anything. As long as you're fine, I'm willing to do anything. At this moment, the surrounding disciples had looks of utter despair on their faces. He felt like he was dead. Long Fei said, then help me up now. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was startled. Help you up? Long Fei said, yes, I feel that what you promised me just now gave me unlimited power. I feel that I can continue living. I don't know why. This might be the power of love. Without waiting for Pride and Amp, Cool Woman to help Long Fei up, Long Fei slowly stood up himself, and his complexion had returned to normal. No matter how foolish Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was, he understood what was going on. His eyes burned with anger and immediately revealed a dark and cold expression as he said, are you messing with me? Long Fei replied, why would I mess with you? The power of love is the greatest power in the world. This is the power of love. Wait for me to wash up tonight for nothing. F***ck. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's gaze tensed up, and his palm was about to strike at Long Fei. It was also at this time. Whoosh. A small figure descended, directly blocking the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, and said with a heavy voice, you dare to hurt a single hair on my honey, I'll take your life. The Phoenix had arrived. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was startled. He looked at Phoenix and said in astonishment, what a beautiful young lady. Is he your husband? He was slightly startled. At the same time, the expression in Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's eyes suddenly changed. His eyes stared straight at the Phoenix, his heart becoming overwhelmed with shock. The aura of the divine Phoenix clan of the Phoenix, He had sensed the aura of a Phoenix. He had sensed the aura of a Phoenix. The expression in Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's eyes changed as his pupils shrank slightly. Seeing that, Long Fei was secretly nervous in his heart. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was someone who came down from the divine space. Was her appearance in the ancient antiquity only for the purpose of being reborn? Furthermore, the ferocious beast that she summoned in the teleportation space just now was definitely not an ordinary ferocious beast. It could trample the entire ancient antiquity to pieces. Long Fei had to be careful as he protected the Phoenix at the side while chuckling. She's my wife, are you willing to be Xiao San? It was just a joke, but the answer revealed something in the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman. Phoenix also realized that the aura on Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, was different from the warriors in the mortal world, and she looked at Pride and Amp, Cool Woman. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman looked at Long Fei and disdainfully said, "I don't want to be your mistress." As she spoke, she glanced at Phoenix. After which, she gently retracted her gaze and did not reveal anything. Long Fei was still very careful. At this moment, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan rushed in. When they saw Long Fei, they said excitedly, "Boss, you're back." Brothers of Five Elements also rushed over, and when he saw Long Fei, he heaved a sigh of relief. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I'm back." Phoenix giggled and said, "My honey, I'm worried about you." "Who is she? Is she your new sister? So tall, and so beautiful." "She's not any worse than big sister Luoshi." "Huh." Long Fei thought of Liu Luoshi, and said to Pride and Amp, "Cool Woman, I forgot to tell you, you can't be Xiao San, you can only be Xiao Sai." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman glared at Long Fei fiercely. "Do you believe that I won't break your third leg?" Phoenix immediately said, "That won't do." Long Fei laughed awkwardly, and said, "Girl, she's too dirty, don't tell him about this." The surrounding crowd was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. There was such a beautiful little lowly called My Honey, and now there was such a cold beauty. When they heard the two words Luoshi, they couldn't help but think of the ancient antiquities goddess, Liu Luoshi. "Make way. All of you give way. Elder Wang is here." An elder walked out from the crowd, looked at Long Fei and asked, "What's going on? How did the teleportation circle become like this?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman immediately said, "I did it." Elder Wang's expression immediately changed, and he revealed a smile, and said, "Yun Shi, there's nothing wrong, it's just a teleportation formation, I'll immediately get someone to fix it." Long Fei turned his face to the side to look at Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, and said, "So your name was actually Yun Shi?" Yun Shi rolled his eyes at Long Fei, and ignored him. Many of the surrounding male disciples had excitement written across their faces. Such a nice name. Beautiful name and beautiful person. Beautiful, the name is even more beautiful. It's so nice to listen to. They were just saying some pleasant words. Yun Shi did not even look at them directly. The Phoenix questioned, "Why did Bailey Tianhai not express anything?" Under normal circumstances, whenever Bailey Tianhai saw a beauty at Yun Shi's level, he would definitely go up and pay attention to her, but he did not. Long Fei was also puzzled. Looking towards Bailey Tianhai, he realized that he and Zhao Dehan were both glaring at him with fury in their eyes. Moreover, the killing intent from Bailey Tianhai was obviously soaring. Zhao Dehan's fists also cracked loudly. Zhongqi had a look of disdain on his face. He glanced at the two of them and said, "Useless trash." Immediately, Bailey Tianhai was instantly enraged, and asked with a heavy voice, "What the F***ck did you say?" Zhongqi said in disdain, "I said you two are trash." The qi on Bailey Tianhai's body stirred, his eyes locking onto Zhongqi. Zhao Dehan was a little unable to endure it any longer, and he was about to uncontrollably charge towards Zhongqi. At that time, at the entrance of South Heaven Gate, they had been stepped on by Zhongqi and all the points they had painstakingly earned had been taken away. This was how they had survived. He wanted revenge. Now that they saw Zhongqi, both of their eyes had turned red. Zhongqi continued to ridicule them. "You all should be thanking me for being alive. If I hadn't let you all live, would you all still be alive? The reason I let you live is to let you feel the cruelty of this world. You want to earn points to sign up for the inner sect examination? Now you don't even have a single point, right? Despair. This feeling of despair must be very pleasurable, ha ha ha." Zhongqi was incomparably pleased with himself. It was just that. In that instant, Long Fei's figure moved, and directly landed in front of Zhongqi, and instantly slapped him. A loud explosion resounded. A resounding slap across the face, sending Zhongqi's head flying, his body swaying, a five-fingered mark could be clearly seen on his cheek. "Laughing your ass," Long Fei said fiercely. Exceptionally explosive. With the power of the three-rate ancient dragon body, if it wasn't for the injuries on Long Fei's body, this slap would have been able to melt Zhongqi's face. This slap was too sudden. Zhongqi never thought that Long Fei would suddenly attack. Even the few elders around did not expect Long Fei to dare make a move in public. Zhongqi clenched his teeth, his eyes glaring angrily, his eyeballs seemed as though they were going to pop out. They stared straight at Long Fei, and then he bellowed, "You dare hit me?" Anger raged. However, while he was speaking, Pa! Long Fei turned his hand and slapped him again, and said angrily, "I'll hit you then, what's wrong?" "I'm just asking, what's the matter? F***ck. Did you do that to my brother? If this wasn't a sect, you would be dead by now." Long Fei said coldly. When he heard what Zhongqi said just now, Long Fei immediately could not tolerate it anymore. If his own brother was bullied, how could he, the eldest brother, not get back at him? If he endured it, then he wouldn't be Long Fei. The 2 consecutive slaps caused Zhongqi to be unable to find his bearings. He was stupefied, and his cheeks started to turn red and swell, slowly turning into the shape of a pig's head. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, "Ah!" Boom! At the same time, he waved his right hand, summoning out his treasure sword. He struck out at Long Fei. Boom! Long Fei was not afraid. However, his body slightly sank. The pain brought to his body by the rank 6 berserk had not disappeared yet. At this time when he was releasing 3-rate ancient dragon body, his body would be in even greater pain. However, blocked in front of Long Fei and stared blankly for a moment. Without waiting for Zhongqi to make a move, she kicked him in the abdomen. Bam! Zhongqi's body caved in, and he flew out, his hands covering his stomach as he screamed out in pain. He stared at Long Fei and Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, and said, "I will kill you." Yunshi said coldly, "One more word from you, you will die immediately." He wasn't joking. He was extremely serious. He wasn't joking. He was extremely serious. It was exceptionally cold. This aura was simply as powerful as exploding on the surface. Even Long Fei was stunned. Awesome. Zhongqi held back his words and did not dare to make a sound. He could only cover his stomach with his hands with a painful look on his face. The eyes stared straight at Long Fei, as though they wanted to tear him to pieces. Elder Wang looked at the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman. He had wanted to make a move on Long Fei, but he stopped himself in the end. No one dared to bother about an outer sect disciple who could kill in public. This was not a simple matter. Moreover, to be able to send Zhongqi flying with a kick, no need to mention cultivation level. After this year's inner sect examination, he might even become an inner sect disciple. Once he became an inner sect disciple, his outer door presbyter would have no choice but to lower his head and walk. Long Fei laughed. "Are you afraid that I'll be injured?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, "I'm afraid that you will die in the hands of others." Phoenix hopped to Long Fei's side and said, "Big sister Yunshi, since you've stepped out on behalf of my honey, I'll accept you." Long Fei laughed and said, "Did you hear that? She accepted you. Anyway, you promised to accompany me for one night. Why don't we have a room today and move in tonight? We'll be family then." The Pride and Amp, Cool Woman snorted coldly and said, "Do you believe that I won't sew your mouth shut?" Long Fei smirked, "I don't believe it." Zhongqi crawled up from the ground, maintaining a safe distance, let out a fierce snort, and said, "Just you wait, once I become an inner sect disciple, none of you will be able to escape." Long Fei looked into the distance and said, "What are you doing standing so far away? If you have the guts, then stand closer." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, "I won't help you anymore. At that time, even if you die by his hands, I won't care." Hearing Yunshi's words, Zhongqi said, "You bunch of trash, just you wait. All of you can only stay in the outer sect for your entire life. I'll never be able to participate in the inner sect examination. Ha ha ha." Long Fei disdainfully said, "You will never be able to participate in it." Hu Liehua laughed, "Do you guys have points? How are you going to register? Don't you know that the registration for the inner sect examination requires points? You new Muggle disciples want to participate in the inner court disciple test? Dream on." Bailey Tianhai's brows tightened, and said, "Big brother, our points." Zhao Dahan clenched his fists tightly and said, "If it wasn't for him taking away our points, we would have also. It's all because we're useless." Phoenix comforted her, We have plenty of time. Since this year won't work, then let's do it next year. Zhongqi laughed. You will not be able to enter this year, and you will still not be able to enter next year. Do you not have any credits in your hearts for offending people? You still want to participate in the inner court disciple exam? You don't even have the qualifications to participate, ha ha ha. Zhongqi laughed complacently again. If not for the distance between them, Long Fei would have uncontrollably slapped him twice, letting him know the north, south, east and west. Bailey Tianhai immediately thought of inner disciple Lin Yuan. He understood that the reason why Zhongqi had blocked him at the exit of South Heaven Gate was because Lin Yuan had ordered him to do so. Long Fei naturally knew this, and cursed in his heart, Lin Yuan, you're F*King never-ending, aren't you? Wait until I enter the inner sect to see how I'll deal with you. At this moment, a huge wave of power came from the crowd and instantly pushed away the disciples on both sides. Long Fei frowned. King Swordsman Qi walked over with a faint satisfied smile on his face. He walked in front of Long Fei and asked, do you want to enter the inner sect? Hand over what I want and kneel in front of me and take me as your master. I will bring you into the inner court. Not only you, but your brothers as well. I will bring you into the inner court. He was the peak owner of the Horcruxes Hill. One of the 7 great peak owners, with unparalleled authority. Bringing a few disciples into the inner sect was a matter of waving his hand. Zhongqi's eyes darkened, and became a little worried. It was impossible for him to compare with the peak owners of the Horcruxes Gate. If Long Fei entered the inner sect, the one who would be in trouble would not be Long Fei, but himself. Zhongqi's mind was trembling. To be able to receive the peak owner's attention and become his disciple, not to mention the outer sect disciples, even the inner sect disciples could only dream about this matter. This was a step into the heavens. The outer sect disciples all revealed looks of envy, even the elders had the same thoughts, they really wanted to kneel at Dong Qiankui's feet. But Long Fei was very clear what Dong Qiankui wanted to do. He wanted the highest grade fire soul. If she wanted to be brought to his Horcruxes Gate Hill, then she wouldn't even know how she would die. No matter how well Dong Qiankui hid, it would not escape Long Fei's eyes. Taking a step back, even if Dong Qiankui became a good person, he would not let Long Fei go, nor would Long Fei let him go. If Dong Qiankui was still alive, that also meant that Fang Wampeng might be dead. If Fang Wampeng had not helped him at the Fire Ox Cave, he would have died in Dong Qiankui's hands. Thus, he must take revenge. Dong Qiankui looked like he was about to devour Long Fei, and said, how is it? This is what all outer sect disciples dream of. As long as you hand over what I want and kneel in front of me, you can bring your brother with you and ascend to the heavens. Long Fei, you have no choice. So what if you have completed the second stage of the mission? You only have 200 points, and you don't even have enough for yourself, not to mention the brothers around you. You won't be able to participate this year, but you won't be able to participate next year either. How is it? I am your only chance, otherwise. Dong Qiankui glanced at Zhongqi, and said with a faint smile, he will forever ride on your head. He looked as if he were on top of God. He could give Long Fei everything he wanted. Promise him. This is a chance to reach the heavens in one step. If it were me, I would have already knelt down and taken him as my master. That's a peak owner of the Horcruxes Gate. What is he thinking? Many people did not understand. Was there even a need to think about such things? Indeed. What he said made any outer court disciple kneel at his feet. But Long Fei was different. He did not bow to the heavens, nor did he kneel to the ground. Let alone kneeling to him, even bowing to Dong Qiankui was something impossible. Long Fei glanced at Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan. Their gazes were firm, without a hint of compromise. They would support whatever decision Long Fei made. Brothers of 5 Elements was the same. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted as he looked at Dong Qiankui and faintly smiled, and said, do you know that I don't have enough points? Dong Qiankui said, like I said before, even if you finish the mission of seizing the Heavens Palace in the second stage, you don't have enough points, you have no choice. Long Fei squinted and laughed. What if I can even complete the third trial? What if I can even complete the third trial? What if I can even complete the third trial? Long Fei smiled confidently. Everyone was startled, and so was Dong Tiankue. Immediately, Zhongqi was the first to laugh loudly. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. He had also completed the third stage? With just you, a dregs of master swordsman rank? Ha ha ha. It's the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. Everyone began to laugh. Ha ha ha. Kid, this is daytime, it's not the time to dream yet. Has his brain gone bad and he is spouting nonsense? Is he sick? The 3 god missions have all been completed. If even he could complete it, then I would have done it a long time ago. How many senior brother have you entered into these past 2 months? Not a single one dared to say that it was completed, and he actually said that it was completed. Ha ha ha. This is definitely a joke. They were all laughing at him. Because this was simply impossible. It had been 100 years since the 3 god missions were released. During these 100 years, there had been people constantly challenging them, but none of them had succeeded. Every trial was extremely difficult and dangerous. It wasn't as if cultivation could solve everything, but if a person didn't have strength, then it was simply impossible. The reason why the first trial had been completed was because of Liu Luosh's strength, plus luck. You want to complete the second stage? Even the inner sect senior brother S could not do it, so there was no need to talk about the third stage, which no one had ever entered before. Moreover, even if he completed the third round, would Long Fei still be standing here? Wasn't it rumored that the third stage CAI egg entered the divine space directly? Why did he still return to the ancient antiquity? It was very obvious that Long Fei was bragging. Dong Tiankue laughed. Long Fei, you deceived yourself and found a better reason. Do you think that there will be anyone who will believe that you have passed the third round? Forget about you, even Elder of Inner House can't do it. Furthermore, from what I know, the task goal in the third stage basically doesn't have any. I know you want to enter the inner sect. Now, as long as you kneel before me, everything will be settled. Remember, this is your last chance. Dong Tiankue squinted at Long Fei. He was determined to win against Long Fei. He wanted to make Long Fei experience the pain that was 10 times worse. The first step was to bring Long Fei to the Horcrux's Gate Hill, because he was the only one who knew what was happening in the Fireball Cave. Long Fei definitely did not know that ancient antiquity had sent golden armor elites to capture Fang Wanpeng. If Fang Wanpeng came back to join hands with Long Fei, then the case would definitely turn around. But if Long Fei died, then even if Fang Wanpeng lived, he wouldn't be able to turn the case around. Dong Tiankue looked like he wanted to eat Long Fei up. Long Fei swept his eyes across them and said lightly, to scum like you, the third stage might be as difficult as ascending to heaven, but to me, Long Fei. Thief Feng Yi. The surrounding people were stunned. What is a thief? What do you mean? What birdsong are you talking about? No one could understand. Phoenix muttered, my honey, what is a thief? Long Fei said, it's very simple, very relaxed meaning. Zhongqi sneered again, simple? Very easy. Kid, there's only less than an hour left before the registration time for the Inner Court Disciple Test. Didn't you already complete the mission? Go to the Task Palace to submit your mission, get your task credit rewards and register. I want to see what kind of mission you are taking, and what points you are taking to sign up for the Inner Sect examination. Zhongqi's words immediately echoed. You're right. If you've completed your mission, then go and hand in your mission. Let's see how you're going to turn in the mission. Brat, it's useless to have a good mouth. This world is about strength. Long Fei looked at Zhongqi, who was laughing complacently, and said indifferently, Senior Brother Zhong, you seem to be very sure that I didn't complete the mission, right? Zhongqi laughed, I don't think so, I am 100% sure that you did not complete the mission. He had also entered the Heaven Fairyland before. He had seen zombies mountains all over the world. Not only had he witnessed the power of the Thunder God, he also knew that the Thunder God could be revived without end. It was impossible to pass this stage. He couldn't even pass the second stage, let alone the third. He was sure that Long Fei did not complete the mission. Long Fei said, "Let's make a bet." Zhongqi laughed. "What do you want to bet?" Long Fei said, "I can either." Zhongqi said, "That's what you said, I didn't force you. If you lose, you will kneel in front of me and kowtow 3 times, then call me grandfather." When he spoke, he looked at Pride and Amp, cool woman. After being slapped twice by Long Fei, he didn't think that Long Fei was stronger than him at all. However, Yunxi's kick was extraordinary. Yunxi did not even glance at Zhongqi, because she knew Long Fei would not lose. Long Fei said, "And if you lose?" Zhongqi said, "Like you, I'll let you handle it." Long Fei said, "Since you like to laugh, then just eat a bowl of shit. Eat feces. Poochie. Ha ha ha." Many people in the crowd couldn't help but laugh. Zhongqi's expression straightened, and said with a heavy tone, "Okay, I'm waiting for you to kneel in front of me and kowtow while calling me grandfather." He did not believe that Long Fei could win. Dong Tiankue said indifferently, "Can I join in the wager?" He also wanted to get involved. Long Fei said, "Sure, I will take whoever wants to bet with me, no matter how big the bet is." A 100% win, how could he be afraid? "I'm afraid I'm not called Long Fei." Dong Tiankue said, "I've won, agree to all my demands, and follow me." Long Fei immediately asked, "What happened to you?" Dong Tiankue said, "If I lose, I'll let you handle it." Long Fei asked, "Really?" Dong Tiankue said, "It's true." Long Fei said, "Then I want your life." Dong Tiankue's eyes darkened, the chi of the 2 king swordsman rank S beside him suddenly erupted, and directly rushed towards Long Fei. The overbearing pressure caused Long Fei to be forced to retreat explosively. Phoenix immediately became unhappy and wanted to attack, but was stopped by a look from Long Fei. Looking at Dong Tiankue's cold eyes, Long Fei smiled slightly, and said, "I was just joking with you, how would I dare to take your life?" He thought to himself, "Your life will belong to me sooner or later." Dong Tiankue's expression slightly eased up. Long Fei said, "Your life is not worth much, even if you want to come, it's useless. Since you want to gamble, how about this, you can win and get rid of me as you wish. If I win, you'll have to do as he says, kneel down in front of me and kowtow and call me grandpa." Dong Tiankue's face suddenly changed color. The muscles at the corners of his eyes were twitching, filled with a strong killing intent. In his sleeves, he clenched his fists. The aura on his body was also extremely explosive. If it wasn't for the highest grade fire soul, he would have long ago killed Long Fei. Dong Tiankue laughed sinisterly and said, "All right. I'll do as you say. Brat, go to the task palace and hand in your mission. I want to see how you will hand it over." Inner Sect, Main Hall Peak. Inner Sect, Main Hall Peak. "Oh, you're back. That's impossible. In the mortal world, who can resist the temptation of rising to the heavens in a single step? That is the chance to enter the divine space." In the Grand Elder's courtyard, a disciple reported what happened to Long Fei in the outer sect. The great clan elder thought that the person who passed the 3rd trial was no longer in the mortal world and had entered the divine space. He was in disbelief. The great clan elder said slightly, "Could it be that among the few people that entered the secret world, one of them entered the divine space?" The disciple said, "According to the news that came from the outer sect, the 2 of them went in and the 2 came out. No one stayed behind." The great elder's expression tensed up and thought, "This. How could there be such a brainless person? What a great opportunity, to be let off just like that. Is his brain filled with water? If the door was right in front of him, he would enter without hesitation. Even if it was a dog hole, he would still enter it. Because it was a chance to become a deity. It was a chance to truly stand at the peak of this world. Ancient world was the highest level world out of the billions of small worlds. Who could give up after reaching the pinnacle of worlds? All his life, he had been working towards this goal, but with his limited talent, no matter how hard he tried, he just could not enter the divine space. He was the publisher and manager of the quest, he knew how difficult it was inside. At the same time he had also been in the secret world, but he could not find anyone. It was the same as his talent, he couldn't pass it at all. It was too difficult. Not only did he have to be strong, he also had to be lucky. There were very few people who took the both of them into account. However, now, the mission was obviously completed, but there was someone who didn't want to enter. This made him puzzled. It was too hard to understand. The disciple continued, currently, Horcrux's Gate Hill Lord Dong Qiankue and one more outer door presbyter is gambling with the person who passed the trial. The great elder retracted his thoughts and lightly said, "Oh? A bet?" The disciple said, Mornaine Peak Lord Dong said that he will not be able to complete the mission. If he wins, he will have the person who cleared the level to follow him. Dong Qiankue? Should I accept him as my disciple? The great clan elder questioned, and said, Dong Qiankue has not recovered from his severe injuries. Taking him in as a disciple at this time, isn't that a bit out of line with his style of conduct? Even if he were to accept disciples, he should at least look for disciples in the Horcrux's Gate Hill. Is there something special about this kid's body? The disciple said, this disciple doesn't know. The great elder said flatly, if that kid has any ancient abilities, he should have been discovered during the rookie selection. There's something fishy about this. An. The great clan elder narrowed his eyes slightly, and said indifferently, the third stage simply does not have any task goal. This stage is set to enter the divine space, so the biggest reward would be that it would no longer be possible to set any targets. Who would be so stupid as to come back? The third trial had no goal. In other words, even if you complete the third mission, even if Long Fei handed over the 9 Dragon King helmet, it would be useless, because there was no task goal. And no reward. No matter what it was, it didn't exist. That is to say, useless. Nothing was of use. The great elder frowned and said, I'll go take a look at the outer sec. It was only because he knew that the third stage of the mission did not have task goal that Dong Qiankue dared to make this bet. Forget about Long Fei failing the mission, even if he completed the mission, it would be useless. It was useless to hand over anything. Although this mission existed, it did not have any goal to accomplish. Thus, regardless of whether Long Fei had finished or not, he had lost. Dong Qiankue thought, fight with me? Brat, you're still too inexperienced, ha ha ha. Task Palace. The surroundings were already surrounded by people. Bailey Tianhai, Zhao Dehan, and Brothers of 5 Elements followed behind Long Fei. Phoenix held Long Fei's arm, while Pride and Amp, Cool Woman walked at a steady pace to the side. Zhongqi said with a complacent sneer. If it was a bet between him and Long Fei alone, he still lacked confidence. However, right now, even the Horcrux's Gate Hill was betting with Long Fei, even the peak owner was betting with Long Fei, so what was there for him to worry about? He would definitely win. Thinking about how Long Fei would kneel in front of him and kowtow and call him grandfather later, he couldn't help but become excited. Dong Qiankue stood on his left and right with 2 king swordsmen elderly men, and when he arrived there, a strong burst of spirit chi would automatically create a path for him. We're at the task palace. Brat, go and hand over your task. Dong Qiankue smiled slightly. Right now, you are in a hurry to go back on your words. Long Fei walked forward and said, I, Long Fei, never go back on my word when I do things, and I, Long Fei, have never lost. Very confident. He was very clear on whether or not the mission was completed. This gambling match. He had won for sure. Zhongqi let out a disdainful sneer. Acting cool? Let's see how you will continue acting later. And then, Long Fei walked to the mission window. Everyone was looking at him, their eyes unmoving. Dong Qiankue calmly looked at Long Fei. Long Fei took out the Eyes of Destruction from the space ring and handed it over. This is the task of seizing the heaven. The disciples inside were incomparably nervous. Their hands trembled slightly as they received the Eye of Destruction from Long Fei and earnestly opened the secret scroll. Seeing task goal, Eye of Destruction. After a serious comparison, he said loudly, it's task goal. The second of the 3 great god missions, the Heaven Seizing Court's mission, is completed. As soon as he finished, the entire audience was in an uproar. Everyone's eyes were focused on Long Fei, their faces were filled with shock. It's really completed. Damn, This can't be true, right? That's the three gods mission. Damn. This is a bit too awesome. What's there to be proud about? So what if you've completed the mission to seize the heavenly court? Right now, the reward is only 200 points, what's the use of it? Look at how arrogant he is. I don't believe he can pass the third stage of the mission. Some people were envious, while others were jealous. However, just like what some people said, the task reward in the second stage was tampered with by Dong Qiankue. It was only 200 task credit, and it required 300 registration points, so there was nothing Dong Qiankue could do. Useless. Dong Qiankue revealed a faint smile, looked at Long Fei and said, "Congratulations, I was indeed not mistaken." However, the smile on his face was extremely sinister. "I didn't think that I would actually complete the mission to seize the heavenly court. I can't let this brat stay. Go and hand in the missions for the third stage." Long Fei smiled faintly, and said, "What are you anxious about? Do you really want to kneel down in front of me and call me grandpa so urgently?" Dong Qiankue sneered. It was also at this time. Long Fei took out the emperor's helmet that had fallen from the Nine Dragon King's body. When the helmet appeared, it was dazzling, causing the entire task palace to be shocked. Long Fei passed it over, and said, "Third stage, Heavenly God's task goal." Disciple received the emperor's helmet and carefully opened the secret records of the various gods' missions. When he had finished reading the last pages, he looked at Long Fei and shook his head. It's not something that can be completed by a mission." Long Fei's heart trembled. Zhong Qi laughed. The corner of Dong Qiankue's mouth curled up into a cold smile. Kid, you've lost. Kid, you've lost. Dong Qiankue revealed a proud smile. Kid, you've lost. Dong Qiankue revealed a proud smile. Zhong Qi also laughed complacently. Ha ha ha. You've lost. Everyone around them began to laugh. I really thought I could complete the third mission. He's just a posturing criminal. You sure are good at bragging. Kid, let's see how you can still act so arrogantly. Many people laughed at Long Fei, thinking that he did not complete the third mission at all. Yunxi's gaze tensed up. How can this be? Long Fei asked. What do you mean you are not the target of a mission? He was a little confused. However, Long Fei was not anxious at all, because he knew very well that he had passed the test. Could it be that energy source stone? Nine Dragons' divine technique? The same one. Holy Godhead. 5 elemental rare source stone. These items were all dropped from the body of a third stage divine Nine Dragon King. If the Nine Dragon King helmet was not task goal, then it must be something else. Zhong Qi disdainfully said, "Do you not understand, or are you pretending to be stupid? That is to say, the thing you took out is not your task goal, and you did not complete the mission, understand? Acting dumb with lousy? Humph. Kneel down and call me grandfather." Zhong Qi was elated, his face was full of pride. "Just now you slapped me twice. If I don't take back this slap, I won't be surnamed Zhong." He said this in his heart. Dong Qiankue laughed complacently. "What else do you have to say?" Long Fei did not pay any attention to the two of them, and instead looked at the mission disciple outside the window and asked, "May I ask, what is task goal?" Ha ha ha. Zhong Qi immediately laughed out loud. "Brat, you really know how to act. Do you think the task goal for the mission of God can be said out? Do you understand? Indeed. The task goal for this kind of mission could not be announced publicly. Otherwise, if someone was faking it, it wouldn't be easy." The disciple at the mission window said, "Senior brother Zhong Qi is right, I can't say it out loud." Long Fei's expression tightened, and said, "I really did complete the third stage of the mission, gods. Are you really done? Ha ha ha. And I said I'd done it, where's the evidence? What about task goal? Take it out. Take it out and have a look." Zhong Qi laughed crazily. He wanted to dance on top of Long Fei's head. How could he let go of such an opportunity to suppress Long Fei? Right now, his face was still in pain. If he did not take revenge, then he would no longer be Zhong Qi. Dong Qiankue said, "Long Fei, admit your loss." Yunxi took a step forward, and said, "He didn't lose. I can testify that he really did kill the God of Heaven. I saw it with my own eyes." Dong Tiankue glanced at Yun Shi and said, "You're going to testify? Who else can testify other than you?" Yun Shi frowned and said, "There are only the two of us within the heavenly god secret world." Dong Tiankue said, "Then what's the use of you testifying? Furthermore, so what if he killed an Empyrean god? If you are unable to take it out, it will mean that you did not complete the mission. Long Fei, a loss is a loss, don't refuse to admit it. Not admitting to it will only make more people look down on you." Dong Tiankue was extremely pleased with himself. What he wanted to do now was to bring Long Fei to the Horcrux's Gate Hill, then obtain the highest grade Fire Soul, and make Long Fei suffer 10 times more than he did. Yun Shi still wanted to argue on behalf of Long Fei, but Long Fei took a step forward and asked, "Is this thing task goal?" Long Fei immediately took out the 3rd grade deity spark. However, he did not say what it was. A 3rd grade Empyrean god spark. If this thing were to be known by others, he would probably never be at peace in the world of mortal world again. If Dong Tiankue found out, and if the 2 King Swordsman powerhouses beside him found out, and so many other outer door presbyters found out, then these people would swarm over like tiger shark that had smelled the blood. Was passing the god's mission to enter the divine space a shortcut? Moreover, even if you managed to enter the divine space, you might not even be able to break through. This heavenly god grab will allow you to become a god's powerhouse in the shortest time possible. Who could let them go? Dong Tiankue was afraid that he would pounce on her without caring about his life. Thus, Long Fei did not say, "I can't say." He pretended he didn't know anything. The god of heaven spark looked like a Sarira's, and there was nothing special about it. Zhongqi disdained, "What is a broken stone?" Dong Tiankue also sneered, and said, "Give up." Clearly, they did not recognize the Empyrean god spark. How many people in the world of mortal world had seen Holy Godhead? Even peak owner of Horcrux's Gate Hill had never seen someone of this level before. Not to mention anyone else. However, when Long Fei took out the divine clone, Yun Shi's pupils constricted and his heart trembled. God of heaven, what? He was afraid that the 9 Dragon King would kill him, so when did he take his divine spark? Yun Shi was someone who came down from the divine space, so she immediately recognized a divine spark. Other than her, there was another person who recognized her. Phoenix. However, her eyes only glanced at it for a moment, but there was no shock. It was as if it was nothing out of the ordinary. This kind of thing could not enter her eyes at all. Other than the 2 of them, there was another person not too far away. His eyes instantly turned deep as he stared at Long Fei without moving. The mission disciple took over the stone that Long Fei gave him and flipped through it a few times, then retreated and said, "That's not it either." His eyes did not linger. Long Fei had been paying attention to his eyes this whole time, because he needed to be prepared to snatch it back at any time. However, from his eyes, Long Fei saw another meaning. "I didn't pay close attention. He doesn't even have a chance to compare. The difference is huge." Or, this mission did not have a target at all? He locked on to the space between his eyebrows. Zhongqi sneered, and said, "Brat, obediently admit defeat, and kneel down and kowtow to this father and call me grandfather. It's better not to struggle fearlessly." Luo Feng and the group of people immediately clamored. "Kneel down, admit defeat, call me grandpa. Kid, I admit defeat. Kneel. Kowtow. You want to complete the god's mission with this kind of status? Dream on. You only have 200 task credit, and you still want to participate in the inner sect examination? Keep dreaming." Ha ha ha. Zhongqi crossed his arms, his face full of satisfaction. Dong Tiankue said, "Long Fei, stop struggling so fearlessly. I told you, you wouldn't win." Long Fei's pupils became tight, and he suddenly said, "This mission does not have any so-called task goal." As soon as he finished, his eyes looked at the mission disciple. His eyes stared blankly for a moment before they tensed up slightly. His expression became a little tense. Immediately, Long Fei immediately understood that his guess was right, and his heart skipped a beat. Without task goal, this mission wouldn't be completed, then task credit would. It's important to win or lose. It's important to win or lose. But what was more important was the matter of the brothers participating in the inner sect examination. If there was no standard for completing the third stage of the mission, it would also mean that Long Fei did not complete the mission, which meant he had no task reward. If one did not have the task reward for the third stage, then all the people beside Long Fei would not be able to participate. This was the most fatal thing to Long Fei. Fuck his mother. Long Fei cursed in his heart. Who the hell gave such a mission? Is there something wrong with his head? Extremely displeased. Dong Tiankue was also frightened by Long Fei's brain, and said, "Since you've guessed it, then I'll just say it directly, there's no reward in this third stage of the mission. At the same time, this mission doesn't have any completion criteria. In other words, even if you kill an Empyrean god, it would be useless. Kid, just obediently admit defeat." Dong Tiankue was determined to eat Long Fei. Long Fei secretly tightened between his brows, and secretly clenched his fists. Zhongqi walked in front of Dong Tiankue and said, "Elder, before you accept him, can you let him fulfill my bet first?" Dong Tiankue laughed. "No problem." Zhongqi's heart relaxed, his face revealed an excited smile, and he stared straight at Long Fei. "Brat, kneel down and kowtow, and call me grandpa." "Ha ha ha." Zhongqi rose to his feet. He was initially worried that Dong Tiankue would manage Long Fei, but now it seemed to be different from what he had expected. Phoenix stepped forward and said angrily, "Do you want to die?" Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan also rushed to Long Fei's side, ready to fight at any time. Brothers of 5 elements also stood apart, forming a 5-elemental formation. Zhongqi pretended to be very afraid, and said, "Oh, there's so many people here, I'm really scared." "Kid, you can't afford to lose. More than others." Immediately, Hu Liehua, who was beside him, whistled in the air. In an instant, over 100 disciples ran out from the surroundings, surrounding Long Fei and the others tightly. Zhongqi had a look of despise on his face as he said, "You're still too inexperienced to compare yourself with this father. Kid, today, you will either obediently kneel in front of me and kowtow and call me grandpa, or I will step on you and kowtow and call you grandpa. Choose for yourself." Very arrogant, very powerful. Dong Tiankue stood at the side and watched the show. He also wanted to see how Long Fei was going to suffer, but he didn't have any intentions of paying attention to it. Long Fei's face was extremely ugly, and his heart was filled with displeasure. It was not because of Zhongqi, but was because of the mission's publisher. In regards to Zhongqi, he really did not put him in his eyes. Facing Zhongqi's arrogance, Long Fei lightly said, "This mission wasn't completed by the standard, but I did." Zhongqi contemptuously said, "You're still being stubborn? Since you've completed it, then hand over your completed goal. Can you even take it out? If you can't take it out, that means you didn't finish the mission. If you dare not admit it today, I will beat you until you admit it." Zhongqi's gaze tensed up, revealing a fierce look. Dong Tiankue also let out a faint sound and said, "Long Fei, I think it's better if you admit defeat. With so many people watching, if you don't admit defeat, you probably won't be fighting against 1 or 2 outer court disciples, but rather the entire outer sect." His words caused all the surrounding outer sect disciples to be stunned. They all stepped forward at the same time and shouted, "You have to admit your defeat. Kneel. Kneel. Kneel." The sound echoed out through the temple hall. Dong Tiankue looked at Long Fei with a complacent sneer. Long Fei cursed all 18 generations of his ancestors. Looking at the surrounding outer sect disciples, his gaze grew cold and he said, "I didn't lose to the first place. Number 2. I, Long Fei, do not kneel, do not bow to the heavens, and want me to kneel for you. Hee. You really don't have the qualifications." Zhongqi smiled slightly, and said, "So you're saying, you're not admitting defeat?" Long Fei said, "I have not lost, why should I admit it?" Zhongqi said, "Brat, you refused a toast and refused a forfeit. Brothers, what should we do with people who break their promise? Kill him. Cripple him. If he doesn't admit defeat, then we'll beat him until he admits defeat. Brat, people like you have no right to stay in the ancient antiquity. Immediately kick him out of ancient antiquity." First cripple him, then chase him out. Long Fei suddenly became the target of public criticism. Zhongqi laughed proudly. Fight with me? Have you ever fought against me? I advise you to kneel down obediently in front of me right now. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave this place today. Zhao Dahan was furious, and said, if you have the guts, then come. Today, let's see who will cripple who. Boom. With a shake of his arm, a powerful aura burst forth. His arms formed a deep frost profound stone beneath his robe, and the hardness of his body surpassed that of steel. He said in a low voice, Big brother, I'll cover your backs, you guys go first. He was facing the entire outer sect. There are not only outer sect disciples, there are also outer door presbyter S. Moreover, there are 2 king swordsman rank S here. How could he possibly block it? Bailey Tianhai swept his gaze across the crowd and said faintly, there are about 1,300 people in the Great Hall. About 300 of them will actually make a move. As long as we can knock Zhongqi down to the ground, these disciples would not dare to move. I am worried about the 2 powerhouses at the King Swordsman realm right now. They are the ones who have the most trouble. There was no way to deal with it. Phoenix placed her hands on her hips and said, I'll deal with the 2 of them. Yunxi looked at the phoenix, and inwardly shivered. Long Fei said, little girl, stop messing around. Phoenix immediately pouted. Oh. Long Fei swept his gaze across the entire audience, and frowned slightly. Zhongqi said complacently, Brat, are you going to kneel? Long Fei raised his eyes, and said, kneel your head, if you have the guts, come. He did not want to take this step. But he had no other choice now. He wanted to bring Bailey Tianhai and climb up from ancient antiquity to enter the divine space. However, now it seemed that he wouldn't be able to do as he had planned. Making him kneel? Unless he was dead. Otherwise, he wouldn't kneel to anyone. A battle? Then let's fight. Long Fei's character was so, if not, then he will be tough. Zhongqi laughed sinisterly, you asked for this yourself. Brothers, attack. An elder beside Dong Tiankue said, Clan Master, do we have to stop him? Dong Tiankue sneered, and said, no need, let him kneel on the ground first. I also do not intend to let him live. Save Long Fei? Impossible. If Long Fei didn't have the highest grade fire soul he wanted, he would have made his move on Long Fei a long time ago. Right now, he only wanted Long Fei to live. The battle was about to begin. Zhongqi forced his way in with hundreds of outer court disciples. Long Fei clenched his fists and said, fight. The aura on his body suddenly changed. However, just as the battle was about to erupt, a voice suddenly came from the mission window. I made a mistake. Mission completed. Mission accomplish. Mission accomplish. Mission accomplish. I was wrong. The mission disciple said loudly. The entire task palace suddenly quieted down. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. They all looked at the task window. The disciple stood up and said, I was wrong just now. The 3rd trial of the mission of God has been completed. His voice trembled slightly, because there was someone standing behind him. Zhongqi turned around and immediately rushed to the window, fiercely saying, what did you say? Explain it to me. You said that he had completed the uncompleted mission. What are you trying to do? Huh. He had an aggressive look on his face. In the outer sect, he had never been afraid of anyone. That disciple said, Senior Brother Zhong, I was wrong just now. Senior Brother Long really completed the mission and obtained task reward. Zhongqi said, are you joking? Do you think I'm stupid? Dong Tiankue's eyes also narrowed slightly. Zhao Dahan became excited and said, ha ha ha. Did you hear that, boss? You've completed the mission and there's even a reward. We won. Zhongqi, you can go eat *T for me. Zhao Dahan released it with all his might. Zhongqi glared furiously with both eyes, and said, there is simply no standard for completing this mission, you cannot complete it, and you will not win. He absolutely did not believe it. Zhongqi reached his right hand into the window and grabbed the disciple's sleeve, lifting him up in one go. He said, what benefits did he give you? I'll give you twice the price. Tell me the truth, or I will make it so that you won't be able to stay in the outer court any longer. In the past, any outer sect disciple would have been afraid. They knew Zhongqi's methods very well. However, he was not afraid at all right now, and said, Senior Brother Zhong, what I said just now was the truth. Senior Brother Long has really completed the mission. I was mistaken. Senior Brother, I'm really sorry. Please come over here to receive your reward for the third stage. Zhongqi's pupils constricted as he said, Impossible, this is impossible. He looked at Dong Tiankue. Dong Tiankue also frowned, but he did not fly into a rage like Zhongqi. Instead, he calmly stared at the mission disciple. Long Fei had a puzzled expression as well. He was very puzzled about this sudden turn of events. It was impossible for that disciple to be mistaken. The only possibility was that someone had changed the quest. Zhongqi let out a fierce cry, and said, Reward? What reward? The mission disciple lowered his head to look at the scroll, and said, The third trial's task reward is 10,000 point. As soon as he finished, the entire hall was in an uproar. What? 10,000 points of task credit? Am I hearing things? Is he crazy? 10,000 points? This, how is this possible? Are you sure you didn't see wrongly? 10,000 points, this. Becoming the highest score disciple in the outer sect all of a sudden. Oh my god, how many times can I take the inner sect examination with 10,000 points? Wow. Could there be a mistake? 10,000 points was without a doubt an astronomical number. Everyone was stunned, because task credit was really too hard to earn. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan had only earned around 500 points in the past 2 months, and that was something that they had earned by risking their lives. It suddenly increased to 10,000 point. It was like he was in a dream. Long Fei was also shocked. 10,000 points. Bailey Tianhai let out an excited cry and said, Big brother, we're rich. Zhongqi's points were always the highest in the outer sect disciples, but now that his points were in front of Long Fei, he was like a dregs. Elder, I am going to complain, this disciple is definitely crazy. Dong Tiankue's eyes moved slightly. A few outer door presbyters immediately understood and quickly walked towards the room. But, after they entered, not a single sound was made, and no one stopped that disciple. This made Dong Tiankue even more shocked. Could it be that someone is controlling it inside? Immediately, Dong Tiankue bellowed. He walked to the window and was about to speak. An elder walked forward and said, Sir Peak Owner, there is someone here to invite you in. Dong Tiankue coldly glanced at him and ignored him. However, when he saw the command medallion in the elder's hand, his eyebrows immediately tightened and his eyes immediately relaxed. Please lead the way. The 2 King Swordsman powerhouses wanted to follow along, but were stopped by Dong Tiankue. Long Fei walked towards the window. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixated on him. His body seemed to be glowing with a golden light. He was like a god. He would soon be someone with 10,000 points, and he would soon be the number 1 person in the outer sect. Zhongqi clenched his fists tightly, which made a cracking sound, as his eyes locked onto Long Fei tightly. Long Fei walked to the window, handed over his identity badge, and said, Senior brother, did you really make a mistake? The mission disciple said, Senior brother Long, I'm sorry, I was wrong just now. I will pass the task reward to you right now. Incomparable respect. It was as if he had met his ancestors. It was completely different from the beginning. All right, I've already recorded the 10,000 points for you. Now, you have 10,200 points in total. Long Fei said indifferently, Can I share it with my friends? Of course you can. Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai and said, Everyone, come over here. Everyone will get 1,000 points. He started with 1,000 points. 1,000 points, many disciples would never be able to accumulate in their entire lives. Too rich. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan excitedly walked up, and coldly glanced at Zhongqi, and said, You didn't think about it, right? Destroying our points, we still have our big brother, ha ha ha. Zhongqi's face turned red. He looked towards Dong Tiankue, But Dong Tiankue was no longer there. Since he had already acquired the points, that meant he had truly completed the mission. Long Fei saw that the brothers of 5 elements had not moved and said, "You guys come over as well. Come with us to participate in the inner sect examination tomorrow." "Us? Boss, we can't do it yet. If we participate in the assessment, we will only implicate you." We, brothers of 5 elements, did not expect Long Fei to share the points with them. 1,000 points. Too much. Long Fei said, "We are brothers, we will be back as soon as I call you." Brothers of 5 elements walked forward and handed over his identity plate, also giving him 1,000 points each. This caused even more people to be incomparably envious. The brothers of 5 elements had always been mocked by others as one of the 5 great trash of the city. He had become a tycoon in an instant, and even wanted to participate in the inner sect examination. All of a sudden, it was as if the 5 of them had gone to heaven. The points were all divided. Zhongqi's face ashened, and he was about to leave. However, Long Fei said lightly, "You want to leave?" Zhongqi's face sank, and said, "Do you still want to stop me?" Long Fei said, "If you want to leave, you can do so anytime. But before you leave, do you have to fulfill the terms of the bet? He won't forget, right? Let me remind you, eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit." Zhao Dahan bellowed out. Zhongqi's pupils constricted. With a heavy voice, he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Bailey Tianhai said, "Are you willing to bet and not lose?" "Oh, not bad." Long Fei said straightforwardly, "Do you believe that I'll beat the *T out of you and stuff it into your mouth for you to swallow?" This fellow had been laughing the entire time. Arrogant. Acting cool in front of Long Fei? Could there be a good ending? Zhongqi said, "Long Fei, we're all senior brothers from the same sect, we can't even see each other's heads, let's just forget about this matter today. We'll work hard together during tomorrow's inner sect examination." Fart. Long Fei immediately spat on his body. "Don't bother with this nonsense, I'm just asking you, are you going to eat or not?" Zhongqi said angrily, "Brat, you will not have a good ending if you offend me. Do you believe that I won't let you all die in there tomorrow?" He began to play around viciously. At the same time, Hu Liehua's group of lackeys moved forward and immediately stood next to Zhongqi. The atmosphere was fierce. The surrounding people spread out, afraid that they would be affected, and didn't dare to provoke Long Fei. All of a sudden, there was only 100 disciples around Zhongqi and only 10 people around him, including Long Fei and the Phoenix. A sharp contrast. Zhongqi snorted and said, "You think you can fight me? You should consider whether or not you are qualified." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei immediately rushed over with his walk like snakeskin, and ruthlessly slapped downwards with his palm. "Qualification your head." Suddenly, he slapped. Zhongqi still did not expect Long Fei to make a move, and to do it in front of more than 100 of his subordinates. His face was already in pain, but now with this slap, it felt as if it was going to split open, and blood began to seep out from his pores. Zhongqi raged, "I want to kill you." The aura on his body trembled, forming a powerful pressure. Boom. His cultivation was much higher than Long Fei's. Before he used any of his techniques, his oppressive might first stunned Long Fei, and then he made his move. This was the best way to crush a low-level expert. However, the moment he released his aura, Yunxi moved and blocked in front of Long Fei. Her eyes turned cold and her long hair fluttered in the wind. In an instant, it sealed Zhongqi's entire body. It also pushed back his aura. Plop. Zhongqi was crushed to the point of kneeling on the ground. Hu Liehua and the others tensed up, and immediately shouted out, "Brothers, kill them." Like a god of death, Yunxi coldly replied, "Let anyone try." A strand of hair wrapped itself around Zhongqi's neck, causing blood to ooze out. If he used even the slightest bit of strength, his head would have been cut off by a strand of hair. Zhongqi was so scared that his face turned pale. His hoarse voice shouted, "Don't move." Everyone stopped. Zhongqi looked at Long Fei and said, "Brat, you only know how to hide behind women." Long Fei had a face full of pride. "That's right, I just like to hide behind women. Bite me, You try hiding too. To be Xiaobai's face, I am willing and honorable, so what? While they were talking, she grabbed Yun Shi's waist. Yun Shi glared at Long Fei. But Long Fei acted as if he did not see it. Everyone disdainfully said, shameless. At this time, Tuda held a large banana leaf and entered while holding a pile of feces that was still emitting hot air, saying, "It was just baked just now, senior brother Zhongqi, don't be polite, it's still warm." Zhongqi's face was ashen, his teeth chattering loudly. Long Fei said, "What are you waiting for? Eat, the rest, I will have my woman cut off your head." All the veins in Zhongqi's body stood out. At the window, several elders looked outside, and Dong Tiankue said with a slight voice, "It's not good to play like this, right? Kids, just let them play." His voice was calm. However, with that said, Dong Tiankue immediately didn't dare to speak. Those outer door presbyters did not even dare to breathe too loudly. No one dared to offend this elder. Zhongqi trembled, his eyeballs were about to pop out. Seeing him not moving, Long Fei took the banana leaf and covered it up. "Eat this *T. Zhongqi's mouth just happened to be wide open. "That shit. Ooh. Ooh." His mouth was filled with feces and his face was filled with feces. He looked as though he had died. Long Fei coldly snorted and said, "If you touch my brother, then we'll settle the score, but tell Lin Yuan, once I enter the inner sect, the one who will be dealt with will be him." He said it heavily. Then, Long Fei turned and left. Zhongqi crazily wiped the feces on his face as his stomach rolled non-stop, shouting loudly, "Long Fei, just you wait, I'll definitely kill you. I will definitely kill you." Ooh. Another bout of vomiting occurred. Long Fei stood at the entrance of the task palace, heard Zhongqi's crazed shout, and said coldly, "If you offend me again, your life will be over." Bailey Tianhai said, "Big brother, we don't have much time left, we need to hurry up and register, if not we might miss next year." Long Fei nodded his head, and said, Everyone should go and register together." Just as they were about to leave, a disciple that they had never seen before walked up to Long Fei and said, "Junior brother Long, my master wants to invite you over." He looked like a scholar. It was impossible to tell how high his cultivation level was. However, the feeling it gave Long Fei was that he was at least in the advanced stage of the Sword Immortal stage. Zhao Dahan's brows tightened, and said slightly, "Who is your master? Tell him to come over himself." Long Fei said indifferently. He took out his identity card and said, "Tianhai, help me register for it." The disciple in front of him was definitely not an outer court disciple. Moreover, he knew that someone had just helped him. This person's authority was even higher than Dong Tiankue. The only people who could make Dong Tiankue not dare to mutter to himself were either the sect master or the great clan elder of Main Hall Peak. Long Fei made a gesture of invitation, and said, "I'll have to trouble senior brother to lead the way." Phoenix pulled Long Fei's arm and looked at Long Fei, not wanting him to leave. Long Fei scratched the bridge of the Phoenix's nose and said, "It's fine." Gently withdrawing his hand, he followed the scholar to a secluded place. Passing through a small forest, they arrived at a unique, elegant courtyard surrounded by purple bamboo. Long Fei had been out of the sect for several months already, but he had never heard of this place before. An old servant stood at the entrance of the beautiful courtyard. He looked at Long Fei and bowed slightly, saying, "Young master, after you." It was extremely respectful. Long Fei nodded his head lightly. He stepped into the courtyard and the Confucian scholar stopped outside the courtyard. He walked into the garden. An old man clasped his hands behind his back. Upon seeing Long Fei walk in, he revealed a faint smile and said, "You're finally here." Long Fei walked forward and said, "You are?" The elder smiled and said, "You should have already guessed who I am now, right?" Long Fei hugged onto both of his arms, and without acting reserved any longer, he said, "Great elder." The old man was the great clan elder of the inner sect. He looked at Long Fei and said, "Smart." Long Fei said, "Great clan elder, why have you called this disciple here?" The great clan elder stroked his beard, looked at Long Fei with interest, and said, "You should be clear in your heart about why I called you here." You should know what I called you here for, right? You should know what I called you here for, right? The great elder's words caused Long Fei's heart to sink, and he silently asked, Holy Godhead? The 3 god missions were issued by the Grand Elder. He should know what was in them very well. If he were to see all the divine sparks, it would be impossible to hide from his eyes. The temptation of Holy Godhead was too great. To someone who would never be able to enter the divine space in their entire lifetime, Holy Godhead was their only chance. Who? Long Fei let out a light breath, and said indifferently, You helped me, so. Seeing Long Fei's frown, the great clan elder suddenly laughed and said, Look at how nervous you are. Don't worry, I won't ask for anything from you. Including the Holy Godhead on your body. Long Fei was startled, a little confused. He had already made the decision to give the Holy Godhead out. The Great Elder had definitely heard it, but he had said those words. The Great Elder said, Holy Godhead, this is such a great temptation. In the mortal world, there are almost no one who can resist this kind of temptation. Long Fei said, Then you. The Great Clan Elder said, Heh. This old man likes to act cool too. Long Fei. He was somewhat speechless. If the Great Elder asked him for it, Long Fei didn't have a choice. He will give it. This was because the Great Clan Elder had helped him earlier. Besides this, he had already offended many people in ancient antiquity. He didn't care if he was alone, but the Phoenix could not, Bailey Tianhai could not, the Brothers of 5 Elements could not. He could not only care about himself, he had to think for the people around him. Especially Phoenix. Those black-clothed high gods did not appear, but no one knew when they would appear. At least, he was safe in the ancient antiquity. The headmaster said lightly, All right, let's not talk about this anymore. I want to know the reason why you gave up the opportunity to become a god. The divine spark that you have obtained can only grant you the cultivation of a divine god, but it can't allow you to enter the divine space. Also, you can completely enter the divine space and then fuse with the divine spark. He really wanted to know that. After discovering that someone had completed the quest, he thought that this person had already entered the divine space. However, Long Fei did not do so because he had given up the opportunity to become a god. Long Fei said indifferently, The door is too small, I don't want to go in on my knees. He spoke lightly. The Great Clan Elder looked at Long Fei, his eyes pausing for half a minute, his heart thumping. He thought Long Fei was acting cool. But in his eyes he saw something else. Firm and unswerving. Even if I wanted it, I would have taken it myself, not charity. Even if I have to enter the divine space, I will break through the shackles myself and enter it with my own strength, and not go in on my knees. The Great Elder looked excited. Do you know how many people have given up their dream chances? Not to mention a small door, even if you were to kneel or crawl, that is a chance that many people cannot find. You actually gave it up. Finished. The Great Elder didn't lament over this. Instead, he began to laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Brat, you really have a personality. Long Fei could only smile. Actually, it was just that he was not prepared. If he was prepared, if he was really able to completely crush Emperor Xian, it would be a different choice. The Great Clan Elder said, I had thought that you would be the first person in ancient antiquity to enter the divine space, but who would have thought that my hopes would fail again? However, Brat, you're quite a bastard, I like it. Fighters should be like this. They should be able to face everything with their heads held high and their chests puffed up. Even if they have the chance to become a god, they can still persevere with their original intention. It's really good. The Great Elder was slightly excited. After pausing for a moment, the head elder said with a slight smile, But, have you thought about the consequences of not giving up this opportunity to enter the divine space? His voice suddenly became serious. Long Fei asked, Consequences? The Great Clan Elder said, The 3 divine missions were given to me by a certain master in the divine space. I actually wanted to let some of the geniuses in the mortal world take a shortcut to enter the divine space. Now that the mission is complete, you did not enter. This probably makes that lord lose a lot of face. If I get angry. The Grand Elder's face tightened. You've probably offended him with your actions, Divine Powerhouse's charity. Mortals don't appreciate it. This was not giving him any face at all. How could the lofty Divine Powerhouse not be angry? Actually, Long Fei really did not think too much, he just did not want to crawl in like a dog. If he wanted to enter the divine space, he would raise his chest, lift his head, and go in instead of going into the dog hole. Long Fei said, I didn't think that far. The great clan elder patted on Long Fei's shoulder, and said, I can only hope that some lord has forgotten about this matter. All right. Don't worry about it. If any of the lords really ask, I will help you find a way out. Cultivate well. If you have any problems with cultivation in the future, feel free to look for me. The great clan elder laughed lightly and patted Long Fei's shoulder. Following that, he was about to leave the courtyard. The old servant followed, and the Confucian scholar also followed. Not long after, the three of them left. Master, that's a holy godhead, you. The old servant didn't understand, but he knew that as long as he took the divine spark, he would be considered a part of the divine class. A good opportunity. Moreover, as long as the great clan elder opened his mouth, Long Fei would definitely give it to him. From afar, he could clearly see everything. The great clan elder smiled, and said, Ah, holy godhead, my entire life's goal. Lu Xun, what do you think? The Confucian scholar's name was Lu Xun. He raised his eyes and said, Master, I have no opinion. The great clan elder laughed. Do you not have an opinion on holy godhead or that brat? Lu Xun's lips moved a little, and said, Disciple is only envious of him. Disciple was unable to even pass through the first trial, yet he actually broke through 3 trials. The last time Liu Luoshi entered South Heaven Gate, it was also him. I believe that junior sister Liu's ability has yet to break through South Heaven Gate. The great elder nodded and said, Your guess is correct. He was the one who broke all 3 trials. After receiving confirmation, Lu Xun's eyes widened in shock, and he asked, How did he do it? It was hard to imagine. He had been trying out this quest non-stop for decades, and it could be said that there was no one in ancient antiquity who had as many attempts as him. But, regardless of his choice, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break through the South Heaven Gate. However, a person with a lower cultivation level had done it. And it was an outer court disciple. He was not jealous, he only felt jealousy in his heart, and he even wanted to request to teach Long Fei. Was the gap between people that large? He was really envious of Long Fei. He was really envious of Long Fei. Although his cultivation was higher than Long Fei, but when he saw Long Fei, he felt that she was no match for him. This was his intuition. He wanted to compete with Long Fei. Do you want to know what's wrong with you? The great clan elder saw through Lu Xun's thoughts and laughed. Lu Xun, some people are born with great fortune, you cannot compare to them. Lu Xun's eyes were a little stubborn, and he said, Master, I want to give it a try. The great clan elder thought for a moment, then replied, It's good to give it a try, it should help you improve. Your king swordsman rank has not been used for a long time. How about this? Let's see if he can enter the 3rd stage. If he can, I will arrange for you to compete with him. I hope you can reap some rewards. Lu Xun's eyes revealed joy, and said, Thank you, Master. The great elder said indifferently, Don't hold any hope. That kind of person might be an existence that you will never be able to catch up to in your entire life. No one knew better than the great elder about the difficulty of the 3 great missions. No one knew the temptation of the path of God better than him. Facing the holy Godhead, Long Fei was incomparably calm. In his eyes, the holy Godhead was like a broken stone, and such a person was destined to be extraordinary. No matter what kind of buff he had, he was an existence that many people would never be able to reach in their entire lives. Take Lu Xun for example. He had the talent of an ancient user. His talent was very unique, the king of all swords. His cultivation was outstanding among the young generation of the ancient antiquity. Even Ling Yuan was unable to match up to him. However, in front of Long Fei, his confidence dropped abruptly, as if she was a level lower than Long Fei. It had nothing to do with cultivation, it had something to do with people. It was as if he was born into it. The servant spoke softly, "Master, he left the purple bamboo courtyard." The great elder nodded and replied, "Yes." However, he felt reluctant. God of Heaven Realm. Sigh. When Long Fei took out the divine clone, her eyes flashed with a tempting glint. He was unable to resist it, and in the end, it was as if her heart was crying blood. I don't want anyone to know about the God of Heaven plane. In addition, I can forget about the things from the past, but I hope that everything will be treated fairly in this inner court disciple exam. The great elder said indifferently. It was obvious that he was unhappy about the rookie selection. Such a talent was actually blocked outside the inner sect. If Long Fei left, what kind of loss would it bring to the ancient antiquity? The old servant softly said, "I understand, I will arrange it." The great clan elder nodded and said, "You can go and make the arrangements first, and incidentally, I'll remind Dong Tiankue not to move around carelessly." His expression was solemn, without any room for negotiation. "So what if you're a peak owner of the Horcrux's Gate Hill?" The old servant bowed slightly and retreated a few steps. "I will arrange it." His figure disappeared from the spot. The great elder looked at the setting sun in the distance and said, "Brat, go ahead and fly as high as you want." "What did you say?" "That brat Long Fei completed the Three Gods mission?" That's impossible. Impossible. Lin Yuan was furious, her forehead was furrowed, her fists were clenched tightly. He did not believe it, but he knew that Zhongqi would not lie to him. The mission must have been completed. Zhongqi said, other than completing the mission, he also received an additional 10,000 points of task credit as reward. He and his brothers have all registered to participate in this time's inner sect examination. Senior brother. Lin Yuan immediately interrupted, "So what if you've already signed up? Could it be that he wants to pass the examination?" Humph. Lin Yuan looked at Zhongqi and said, "Your chance to show off has arrived." Zhongqi's eyes flashed, and she said, "Senior brother, I will definitely not disappoint you." Lin Yuan nodded, and said, "All right, I was waiting for those words of yours." With a flip of his right hand, he took out a small porcelain bottle and said, "There are 10 explosive holy source pills. One pill is enough to increase your cultivation by 1-fold in a short amount of time." Zhongqi excitedly accepted it carefully with both hands, saying, "Thank you, senior brother. I will definitely crush that group of trash." Lin Yuan laughed coldly, and said, "I want them to die in the first stage." Zhongqi nodded heavily and said, "Understood." Lin Yuan said, "All right, you should go and make some preparations. There will be someone to help you in the inner sect examination this time, don't worry." Zhongqi said, "Thank you, senior brother." He quickly left. Not long after, Tian Jian came out and asked, "Could there be a mistake? The mission of God has been completed." Lin Yuan sneered and said, "So what if it's completed? I will also prevent him from entering the inner sect." Tian Jian smiled slightly, and said, "Brother Lin, the power of your holy source's angry exploding pellet." Lin Yuan sneered, and said, "He's just an outer disciple, if he's crippled, then so be it." In front of him, everyone else was just a pawn. Holy source exploding pellets can indeed cause a person's cultivation to explosively increase in a short amount of time, however. Once the effects of the medicine were over, the user would basically be crippled. Even if he didn't die, he would at least be crippled. Cultivation base would disperse everything. Tian Jian also laughed coldly. At this moment, the space between Tian Jian's eyebrows tightened. There's a powerful aura forcing its way in. Lin Yuan also felt it, 10,000 meters away. Before he could finish, an old servant quietly landed behind them like a snowflake. Cold sweat instantly appeared on their foreheads, and they didn't dare to move an inch. In the first half-second, he had been 10,000 meters away, appearing right in front of them. This was an existence that could crush them for 100,000 miles. He didn't dare to move recklessly. What they were even more afraid of was not the old servant's cultivation level, but the beauty of his chest. Great Elder's beauty. With just a thought, the two of them could tell who it was using their toes. He was so scared that he couldn't even make a sound, and his knees were trembling uncontrollably. The old servant said softly, "I do not care what you have done in the past. If you are to target Long Fei in this inner sect examination, then you will forever disappear from this world." Understood. An understatement. It did not have any destructive power. However, to Lin Yuan and Heavenly Sword, their minds and seas of consciousness felt as though they were about to explode. Both of them tried their best to say, "Ming, understood." The old servant lightly said, "Very good." Then, his figure flashed and disappeared. Both of them were drenched from head to toe, as if they had been fished out of water. Their faces were pale, and they panted heavily, falling to the ground as they lost their footing. After a long time, only now did they slightly recover. Tian Jian asked, "The matter of the holy source exploding a pill in anger." Lin Yuan's eyes darkened, and said, "Even the great clan elder opened up a path for this kid, then he should die even more. If he were to enter the inner sect, would we still have a good time?" His murderous intent was even stronger. Horcrux's Gate. Horcrux's Gate. Dong Tiankui's face turned ugly as he looked at the old servant in front of him. It was also an old demon from the ancient antiquity. He didn't know how long he had lived, but in this lifetime, there was only one person who could command him, and that was the Great Elder. Even if the Grand Master ordered it, he wouldn't hear it in front of him. Standing before him and feeling the aura radiating from his body, he found it difficult to breathe. Dong Tiankui forced himself to calm down, and asked softly, "Is this the Great Elder's idea, or is it yours?" No matter where the old servant went, no matter who he was talking to, he would always bow his body as if he was a servant who was used to being a servant and would never be able to get back. He would bow his body and say, "Great Clan Elder, do you understand what all the Mornaine Peak Lord Donges are trying to do?" Dong Tiankui's pupils contracted slightly as he replied, "I understand." "Very good." The old servant turned around and left. After taking a few steps, he stopped and said, "Mornaine Peak Lord Dong, I must remind you that the great clan elder values him very much, and he does not wish for any bad intentions to appear. So, it is best if you do not have any more ideas on him." His tone was very calm. However, Dong Tiankue sounded like tens of thousands of killing intent. It was very hard. This painful feeling did not improve until the old servant disappeared. Cluck, cluck. He clenched both his fists tightly, and his joints started to make popping noises as the muscles in the corner of Dong Tiankue's eyes twitched slightly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. An elder walked up and said, "Senior brother, now." Dong Tiankue said in a gloomy voice, "So what if it is the great clan elder? I don't believe that he would dare to do anything to me for a dead person. How is the task I gave you going?" He was in a bad mood. Being stopped by the great elder in the outer sect made him unhappy. How could he let go of a duck that was so close to his mouth when it just flew away like that? Moreover, this was related to the recovery of his cultivation base, so he definitely could not let it go. He had to get the highest grade fire soul. Great Elder's authority was great, but he didn't believe that he would fall out with a dead person. After all, he was still the patriarch of the Horcrux's Gate. At this moment, in his eyes, Long Fei was a dead man. "It's done, the people from Dark God Tribe will appear at the examination ground." The corner of Dong Tiankue's mouth lifted slightly, and said, "Very good. It's for the best if they appear." Dark God Tribe. An assassination organization. To be exact, it should be a high-level assassination club. As long as a large bounty was provided, the Dark God Tribe would accept it no matter who the target was. He was the kind of person who wouldn't give up until he reached his goal. This time, Dong Tiankue had spent a total of 10,000 holy source stones. 10,000 holy source stones, to him, this was a huge number. As long as he obtained the highest grade fire soul, and as long as Long Fei died, he would be able to spend these 10,000 holy source stones. The corners of Dong Tiankue's mouth slightly hooked up as he looked at the sky that was slowly growing darker, and coldly said, "Kid, by this time tomorrow, you will be a dead man. Heh. Just you wait." In Long Fei's courtyard, everyone returned from registration and had a big meal. Everyone was happy. Today was a day to vent his anger. Zhongqi's appearance of eating *T was now being mocked by the entire outer sect. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan were especially grateful to Long Fei in their hearts. If it were the two of them, it was unknown when they would be able to get back at Long Fei. By the time they had the strength to get back at him, Zhongqi would probably already be an inner disciple. At that time, it would be even more impossible for them. Moreover, if not for Long Fei's help, their cultivation would not have been able to improve so quickly. In the past 2 days, it was as if there was someone cultivating in their place, so even if they did not cultivate, their cultivation would continue to improve at every second. That ball of power was abnormally strong. They didn't know that Long Fei had given them 2 drops of spirit blood. The power his spirit blood possessed was unimaginable. Bailey Tianhai was extremely grateful in his heart as he said while looking at Long Fei, "Big brother, thank you." Zhao Dehan also immediately stood up and said, "Big brother, thank you." Long Fei said, "We are brothers, let alone thank you for your words." Long Fei was like that. As long as he was a brother, there was no need to thank him. Bailey Tianhai was choked with sobs. Long Fei changed the topic and said, "Tomorrow is the inner sect examination, analyze it for me." Bailey Tianhai coughed lightly and said, "The inner sect examination is divided into 3 parts. The first part is to enter the depths of the ancient Lai Mountain to gain experience. I have to survive in order to have the chance to enter the second stage. Living is just a chance, and represents that I will definitely be able to enter. There were many living senior brother in the past, but they didn't pass the first stage of the examination. That's why I feel that if we were to continue hunting for demon beast while we're still alive, the chances of you passing were higher." Brothers of 5 Elements Fire muttered, and said, "In the depths of the ancient Lai Mountain are all these high-level demon beast, even inner disciples do not dare to recklessly enter. If we go in, aren't we just going to send us to our deaths?" I heard that too. Deep inside the ancient Lai Mountain are existences similar to forbidden areas. There are even many demon beast that have evolved to human forms. These demon beast are all demon emperor level existences. Bailey Tianhai said, "That's right, that place is indeed very dangerous, and that is why most people would fail during the first stage of the trial." Long Fei said indifferently, "We demon beast have to guard against it, but humans also have to." Bailey Tianhai replied, "Yes, other than demon beast, there are also ways to prevent senior brother disciples by your side. As long as one of them is a competitor while participating in the inner sect examination, it's equivalent to losing a competitor. Those who do not trust you must be extra careful. The human heart is evil. You don't know who will stab you from behind, so other than us, don't trust anyone else." Brothers of 5 Elements nodded and said, "En." Bailey Tianhai said, "If you can smoothly pass the first stage, the second stage is the display of talent. This is the same as the rookie selection, the only difference is strength, speed, and the display of skills, because this is the standard for your progress in the outer sect. It would be even better if he could display his stronger talent. If you don't display it well, it will also be deleted. You must perform well in this stage. This will increase the impression points of some elder of inner house. The last stage is a martial arts battle. According to past experience, martial arts battles are usually conducted with disciples who are selected together. However, there are also special situations. There could be an accident. The reason why the ancient antiquities inner sect examination is so difficult is because of this. Every single trial requires an elder to give points. What we need to do is explode. Use all of your strength. There was definitely no problem with Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan exploding forth. But brothers of 5 Elements' words. Long Fei said, "The assessment should be exactly this process. Now I want to send you guys something. Each of you will wear a set of armor. Each of you will wear a set of armor." They were all false god armor. Although the difference was too great compared to the heavenly god armor. Compared to the armor of an ordinary mortal world, this was already a few streets away. Since Long Fei allowed them to participate in the assessment, then all of his brothers would have to pass. Otherwise, how could he be called a brother? Zhao Dehan's eyes lit up when he saw the armor. He became excited and said, "This armor. It seems to be completely different from ordinary armor." He was the first to put it on. When the armor entered his body, Zhao Dahan clenched his fists tightly. Wang. The armor erupted with waves of powerful energy, which was extremely robust, and also erupted with streaks of golden light. Although this golden light was weaker than the fake god, it was still very powerful. Stepping forward like a tiger, his fists were like hammers. Zhao Dahan executed a set of punches. Each of his punches had the power of an explosion. He retracted his aura. Immediately, the armor on his body once again concealed itself. "So powerful!" Bailey Tianhai exclaimed. Zhao Dahan's face was filled with joy as he said, "Big brother, this armor is too overpowered." Long Fei laughed, "It's good that you like it. Everyone, one set. All of them." With the protection of these armors, even if they met a spirit demon emperor level demon beast in the examination tomorrow, they need not worry too much. Phoenix giggled and said, "My honey, what about me?" Long Fei stroked the phoenix's forehead and said, "I am your armor." Phoenix's small face reddened, and she said, "My honey, you're so nice." She then turned and laid her head on Long Fei's lap, with a look of happiness on her face. Long Fei smiled knowingly, "Our girl will blush." Phoenix appeared even more shy. "Each of you will receive one, combining it with the cultivation method I passed down to you last time to break through even faster. You don't need to do anything in the first round of the examination, just focus on cultivation. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth should be denser in the depths of the ancient Lai Mountain. It would be more beneficial to you. I want all of you to awaken your powers within 3 days and use them to prepare for the second round of the talent display. Can you do it?" Long Fei said in a serious tone. Brothers of 5 elements had to activate the power of the attributes in his body, otherwise they would be useless. As long as their power was activated, they would be unable to stop it. It was just like what Long Quang had said. In the future, they would be able to control the power of the 5 element. The 5 of them nodded their heads. "We can do it." Long Fei said, "If you can't do it, then you don't need to see me anymore." He had to put some pressure on them. The 5 looked determined. Long Fei had saved their lives, given them the cultivation method, now he had given them the armor and rare source stone S. If they still could not do it, without Long Fei saying anything, they would feel embarrassed to meet Long Fei again. "All right. On the last night, everyone, rest well. Tomorrow will be a hard and bitter battle." Long Fei said softly. He was cultivating as well, hoping to break through to the next level. The crowd dispersed. Long Fei also returned to his room and sat cross-legged. The idea moved and said, "Enter the refined space." Long Fei immediately appeared outside the refined space's gate. The 8 gates were standing. Long Fei was currently only training in the sword cultivating space. There were 7 other gates that he had not opened before, of which he could understand 6 of them, but the 8th gate was of an unknown attribute. Long Fei did not know what it was. Huff. Wait until I enter the inner sect. I'll go challenge them one by one. Let's break through first. As Long Fei stepped into the sword cultivation gate, the system chimed in. Ding. System notification. Do you wish to enter the Sword Lord Realm Dungeon, Dome? Long Fei broke through the Sword Saint Realm and activated the Instance Dungeon. Long Fei did not enter. The higher the level, the more difficult the Instance Dungeon would be. Long Fei replied, "No. For the time being, I won't go in. I'll first settle the matter of the Inner Court Disciple exam." Long Fei was not in a rush. As long as he was still in the Master Swordsman rank, the Instance Dungeon would continue to exist. Moreover, Instance Dungeons only had one chance. If the challenge failed, then there wouldn't be a second time. He had to make a perfect plan. In the middle of refined space, Long Fei was crazily training as if he was self-torturing himself. His cultivation was just like his experience, increasing bit by bit. It was just that it couldn't be displayed in the form of data like the experience points. Ascending Dragon. Explode. As soon as a sword skill was unleashed, Long Fei's aura exploded and numerous azure dragons rose from the ground, instantly charging hundreds of meters into the sky. Then, boom. Boom, boom. It suddenly exploded forth. Not strong enough. Again. 9 Dragon Shrine. Long Fei channeled the power of a dragon into his sword skills, and then, the power that erupted was completely different. The sword strokes seemed to have a mind of their own. The Master Swordsman rank, right now he was not just training his flesh, more of it was training his sword intent. Sword cultivation was extremely important. Long Fei waved his big treasure sword, sword after sword as he practiced. Just like a beginner. There were never shortcuts on the road to success, so Long Fei relied on training hard to achieve success. Early in the morning, the sky turned white in the east. Inner Sect, Sword Elf Mountain Peak. Liu Luoshi looked at the red sun rising from the east, and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing 2 shallow dimples, and his smile was very beautiful. In the distance, Ling Yuan was dumbstruck. However, he knew that there was an insurmountable gulf separating him and Liu Luoshi. Last time when she had jumped off the cliff, he had hesitated. He knew that he was not worthy of Liu Luoshi. However, when he saw the happy smile on Liu Luoshi's face, he was satisfied. Liu Luoshi muttered, "Today is the day of the inner sect examination. It won't be long before I see him again." While they were talking, her hand subconsciously touched her stomach. The smile on his face grew wider and wider. That kind of joy. It was completely different from the blissful feeling she had when she was young. It was more like a joy about to be a mother. Liu Luoshi muttered, "I don't know if he will be scared, hey?" She smiled. She was so moved by the morning light. It was as if she was a peerless beauty. As the sun rose, the outer sect began to get busy. The most important day of the year. In the center of the plaza, Laozi was gathered with a lot of people. Long Fei and Bailey Tianhai had also been here for a long time, because they had entered the assessment grounds early in the morning, and because the teleportation formation could not be transmitted, it took them a few days just to rush there. On the stage, the outer door great presbyter said loudly, "I won't say too much. This is a moment that concerns both your lives and death. Enter the inner sect. Live. Fight back to your original form and die. This is what training is all about. Going against the flow of the water is like going against the flow of a boat. Retreating is like going back to the abyss. One can only advance bravely. Enough. Beep the drum, let's go." Bang, 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 bang. The battle drum sounded out and the sky rumbled. The guards formed by the outer door presbyter set off first, with the disciples following in the middle. The journey was extremely dangerous. Other than the outer door presbyter, there were still other elder of inner houses and guards. This was to ensure the safety of these examination disciples before they reached their destination. Amongst the crowd, Zhao Dehan's face was filled with excitement, and he said excitedly, "It's just like going out to war, it makes my blood boil." Long Fei said, "This is probably even harsher than fighting. The chances of a war are higher than this." Long Fei took this opportunity to glance at the 200 disciples, and muttered, "I don't know if we can survive past 10%. Deep in the ancient Lai Mountain, where the demon beast ruled. Within a trillion-kilometer area, it was one of the most dangerous places. The demon king of the legend of the cloud-swallowing fog. The demon emperor who had crushed the earth. He then transformed into the bewitching demon fox king. Not to mention hunting, survival was the biggest test of all. To be able to come back alive was akin to burning incense, but he knew there was danger, but he had no choice but to go. There was no turning back on the path of martial arts. This was the only way to enter the inner sect. He entered the examination. Open and honorable. Just like back then when he was in front of Ling Xiao Palace's dog cave, he had to crawl inside. Those that did not exist, even if they wanted to enter, had to step on the divine space openly. Bailey Tianhai said in a faint voice, "After entering the inner sect, the first person I'll look for will be Lin Yuan. He sent people to kill us again and again. If you don't take revenge, then I'm not called Bailey Tianhai." He just wanted to enter the inner sect and kill Lin Yuan. As for the test, he didn't take it seriously. He was currently a genius with 8 brains, so he really didn't place this test in his eyes. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "He will go in." "Definitely." Long Fei raised his head and looked in the direction of the Sword Elf Mountain, and thought to himself, "I promised her before." At this time, Yunshi walked up to him coldly and said, "It's not that simple. The place we're going to this time is different from any other place. If you were to describe the places where demon beast run rampant in front of our eyes, then this time, it should be the places where the demon emperor run rampant." Phoenix giggled and said, "Even demon emperor isn't afraid." Yunshi glanced at the phoenix and laughed bitterly, wanting to say, "Even the demon god of heaven king probably wouldn't be afraid of you." But when he wanted to say something, he was interrupted by Long Fei. "Don't worry, I will protect you." Yunshi's eyes turned cold, revealing killing intent. Long Fei said, "You still owe me 1 night, why not spend it with me in this forest?" Yunshi said, "All right, let me see how you broke your 3rd leg." He stretched out his right hand, then clenched it. Crack! It was like the sound of an egg breaking. This scared both Zhao Dahan and Bailey Tianhai to the point that they shrunk at the same time. Long Fei laughed and said, "You like to break my 3rd leg that much? Don't worry, I'll let you have enough when the time comes." Heh. Yunshi's face reddened, and she couldn't wait to shove Long Fei into the crevice. "Stop talking," an elder said in a low voice. "We have already entered the ancient Lai Mountain, keep quiet." The crowd instantly quieted down. Sometimes, even the slightest sound could attract demon beast. It was fine to stay at the periphery, but if they reached the depths of the ancient Lai Mountain, any demon beast would be enough for them to drink. Phoenix giggled and said, "How exciting." Long Fei laughed bitterly, she was not afraid of anything. Yunshi looked at Phoenix. Long Fei said in a low voice, "Don't look anymore, it's useless even if you look too much." After observing the situation a few times, Yunshi had no hostility towards the phoenix, so he shouldn't be that black-clothed man. Yunshi asked, "Where did you pick up this treasure?" Long Fei said, "What do you think?" Yunshi rolled his eyes at Long Fei. Another elder said, "I said, keep quiet." Zhongqi, who was not far away, immediately pointed at Long Fei and said, "Elder, it's them who are speaking. This kind of person would kill all of us." A cold glint flashed across Zhongqi's eyes. The elder stared at Long Fei and said, "If there's a 3rd time, you'll..." Just as he was speaking, Long Fei said, the demon beast is here." The elder was stunned. He looked back and saw that the surrounding was silent. He was angry. "Kid, you dare to play with this old man? I don't think you want to take the exam." Long Fei said seriously, "Elder, the demon beast really came. From your front and back, I have not deceived you." The elder turned his head again. The surroundings were still quiet, the idea could not feel any more auras from the demon beast. No demon beast approached them. Zhongqi immediately stirred up the flames, and said, "Clan elder, he is indeed messing with you, the surroundings are completely quiet, where did the demon beast come from?" "Exactly. What cultivation does he have?" "It's just the master swordsman rank, his sensing ability can't surpass the elders, it's obvious that he's messing with you. This kind of disciple doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the exam. Abolish his qualifications." Many people clamored. If there was one less disciple to take the test, then there would be one less competitor. At this time, many people were adding insult to injury. The surrounding elders also had faces full of contempt and mockery. Because in the surrounding area, they could not sense the existence of any demon beast. Just not yet. How could there be a demon beast? The elder's anger rose. He was teased by a disciple in front of so many people and was about to get angry. Long Fei looked at Zhao Dahan. Zhao Dahan immediately walked forward. At the same time, Bailey Tianhai, brothers of 5 elements, is ready for battle. Zhongqi disdainfully said, "Pretentious." Long Fei didn't pay any attention to him and indifferently said, "It's precisely because it's quiet that it's different, we don't even hear the sound of a bird. It's very obvious that we have already entered the territory of some demon beast. In less than a minute, that demon beast will pounce at you from behind." The elder was enraged. "I don't know if there are any demon beast, Are you a guard, or am I a guard? Long Fei said, I'm really not lying to you. If you don't believe me, then just stand there and don't move. And then, Long Fei lightly said the numbers, 9, 8, 7, 0. When the number changed to 0, it was still very quiet. Zhongqi immediately laughed loudly, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. What the F *** K do you know? And the demon beast? Did you eat it? Long Fei raised his eyes. Rumble. The mountains howled. A demon beast with a body as black iron pounced forward. The forest howled like the wailing of ghosts. The forest howled like the wailing of ghosts. The huge black shadow fell down heavily, and rubble flew everywhere. 2 enormous beast fists, 1 hammer. Rumble. The earth cracked as a powerful earthquake struck. Everyone was shaking from the shock, and they couldn't even stand properly. The angry elder was knocked onto the ground. He held his head with both hands and shattered rocks fell on his back. His entire body started to tremble. He was scared out of his wits. Level 6 Demon Beast. Level 6 Demon Beast. Oh my god. It's a black roaring ape king of the 6th rank. A king-level demon beast. What should we do? What do we do now? For a moment, it was a complete mess. Not to mention those stupefied disciples, even the elders were scared silly. Their faces were pale and they didn't know what they were going to do. Suddenly, it was too terrifying. He wasn't mentally prepared at all. Roar! Black roaring ape king roared again. The sound waves shook furiously, so loud that it seemed as though his eardrums would burst. The leader of the elders calmed down and said in a loud voice, "Guard, prepare to fight." Many of the elders moved closer to the great elder. Only the trembling elder covered his head with both hands. He was already scared to death. Not to mention retaliating, he didn't even have the strength to stand up. Roar! Black roaring ape king roared once again. He's going to attack. He's going to attack, Elder Liu. Hurry and retreat. Faster. The elder with both hands covering his head couldn't hear anything and buried his head into the ground, completely unable to hear what was happening outside. Long Fei said indifferently, "Stupid." Zhao Dahan naively said, "Understood." Bam! Black roaring ape king gave a heavy leap. Hualala. It was like a tsunami as it came crashing down towards Elder Liu from above like a mountain. If he was pressured, he probably wouldn't be able to live. Old Liu. Elder Liu. Hurry and get out of the way. One by one, the elders shouted. The faces of the disciples that were taking the test all turned pale. Only a few people were calm and collected, and weren't frightened by the terrifying scene in front of them. Zhongqi also sneered. Just as Black Roaring Ape King landed on the ground, a figure rose up from the ground. The ground beneath his feet cracked. A depression appeared. Zhao Dahan rushed forward. "Come back. Don't go throw away your life." An elder shouted. Many disciples sneered, "He's simply courting death. Is he tired of living? Go die. Is there something wrong with your head?" If he were to charge forward at this moment, wasn't his head spinning? Even if he wanted to go up, he should have avoided the blade and attacked first. He should have rushed up when the Black Roaring Ape King was attacking. Level 6 Demon Beast was the power of the Master Swordsman rank. A king-level demon beast like this was the peak realm of the Sword Sovereign. Even an early-stage Immortal Swordsman rank wouldn't necessarily be able to withstand the eruption of this kind of demon beast, it was simply courting death. However, in the next second, everyone felt their scalps go numb. Because Zhao Dahan suddenly grabbed Black Roaring Ape King's arm, and all the energy in his body exploded out. Boom! A powerful shockwave shot out, exploding into many strength stripes that could be seen with the naked eye. And then, a heavy swing. Hualala! A sound of breaking air rang out, and Black Roaring Ape King was directly smashed into the ground by him. Dozens of towering trees collapsed. A deep crater formed on the ground. Black Roaring Ape King was smashed so hard that his head started to sparkle, and a large amount of blood gushed out from his back. He was a little dumbfounded. All the elders stared at Zhao Dahan in a daze. Those disciples who were taking the examination were also stunned. They had even forgotten to breathe, and could only stand there motionlessly as Zhao Dahan stood there foolishly. The person who mocked earlier felt as if he had been slapped in the face by Zhao Dahan. This move was too fierce. That was a level 6 king-level demon beast, and it was overturned just like that. Long Fei also faintly smiled, and said, "That's right." Moreover, Zhao Dahan did not use his full strength. If he did, the level 6 Black Roaring Ape King would have probably been killed instantly. At the same time, their gaze tensed up and their fists clenched together. In their hearts, they wanted to catch up to Long Fei and the others. It was a great thrill for them. He used to think that Zhao Dahan was just a little stronger than them, not by much. But now, it seems like the gap between them was too huge. Roar! Black Roaring Ape King roared. He turned his body and suddenly stood up. Its huge body stood in front of Zhao Dahan. At this moment, Zhao Dahan was just like an ant in front of Black Roaring Ape King. However, it looked like it, but in reality, it was the complete opposite. The Black Roaring Ape King was just like an ant in front of Zhao Dahan. Black Roaring Ape King pounded his chest with both fists. With eyes filled with anger, he leaned his body forward and roared at Zhao Dahan, "Roar!" Zhao Dahan stood in place without moving an inch. After Black Roaring Ape King finished roaring, he dug his ears out, his eyes tensed up, and suddenly shouted, "Ah!" The sound waves were like waves. The strong wind billowed. When Black Roaring Ape King heard this roar, his body suddenly shrunk, and his furious gaze instantly turned into that of a terrified baby. He only had to hold on for a second before he turned around and ran. He didn't dare to stop for even a second. He was extremely afraid. Zhao Dahan contemptuously said, "If you don't leave, I'll take your life." If the back somersault had shocked everyone just now, then this roar made them feel as if they were prostrating themselves on all fours. All of them looked at Zhao Dahan as if he was a monster. At this moment, Elder Liu, whose hands were covering his head, tidied up his appearance and said lightly, "This kind of demon beast is only of the lowest level in the place where you are taking the examination. Don't be arrogant." At the same time, he also looked at Long Fei. Long Fei was startled. Bailey Tianhai smiled faintly and said, "Has the assessment begun?" Long Fei suddenly came to his senses. Every single elder here was at immortal swordsman rank. How could they not be able to react? How could they only know this when the demon beast arrived in front of them? Impossible. In other words, the assessment had already started when they entered the ancient Lai Mountain. What Long Fei saw just now was only a good show to be performed by the guards. The faces of the elders regained their composure as they warned the others, "Count the number of people so that we can continue to move out." Elder Liu walked in front of Zhao Dahan and said, "Boy, you are not bad." Zhao Dahan scratched his head in surprise, "Eh?" Elder Liu also looked at Long Fei, and said, "Your sensing ability is not bad. You should be like this in this kind of dangerous place. You can't rely on anyone else at any time. Everyone, keep your spirits up. We are part of the guards, but the ones taking the real test are you guys. You have to be vigilant at all times. Don't wait for the demon beast to get close, by then your reactions will be too slow. Do you understand?" The faces of the disciples sank. They had only just realized that this was a play by the guards. It was also at this time. The leading elder said loudly, "Zhao Dahan, score +10. Long Fei went against the elder and kept on ordering him. "Long Fei, go against the elder, don't listen to orders, score 10. Long Fei, go against the elder, don't listen to orders, score 10. If there is a next time, the punishment will be doubled." As soon as he finished, Long Fei was stunned. Bailey Tianhai said, "Clan elder, if not for my brother's reminder, I'm afraid that things would not have ended up like this, right?" Zhao Dahan also said, "That's right. I was also the one who kept on yelling at me to help out. Can I give my score to him?" Long Fei was the first to notice the demon beast approaching. It was he who had ordered Zhao Dahan to attack. But now, he actually wanted to deduct the score. The head elder lightly said, "The score is related to a person's exam results. You can't casually pass it over. In addition, We strictly follow the assessment criteria. He was the first one to discover the demon beast, but he also did not listen to the elder's orders. If we were to keep quiet at the first moment, that black roaring ape king would not be able to discover this place. As they spoke, the elder looked at Long Fei with a stern gaze. Long Fei laughed bitterly and said, "I'll accept the punishment." Reduced by 10 points, which meant that Long Fei's current score was negative, which was extremely disadvantageous for a disciple participating in the examination. Bailey Tianhai said anxiously, "Big brother, your score is negative and you will be eliminated almost 100%. Even if you survive these few days safely, you will still be kicked out of the competition." "I protest." Bailey Tianhai spoke out for Long Fei. However, just as he said "I protest," an elder said in a deep voice, "The protest is ineffective. The score is 10. If you dare to protest again, the punishment will be doubled." Bailey Tianhai's gaze trembled, and was about to get angry. It was held back by Long Fei. Elder looked around. Who else wants to protest? Huh. Other than Long Fei's group, the others all secretly laughed to themselves. The score is negative, it's eliminated. Ha ha ha. 2 idiots. The exam had only just started, and it already turned into a negative number. The two of them are already crippled. Still protesting? This fellow's brain must have been filled with water. Didn't he drag himself into the water as well? Ha ha ha. Many of the surrounding people began to laugh in disdain. If the score was negative, then he would basically be sentenced to death. It should be a rotation. It was impossible to enter the second round of the examination. This was how it was in the past examinations. There hadn't been a single person who had passed the first round of examinations who had received a negative score. Thus, Long Fei and Bailey Tianhai were basically eliminated. Now, they only had to wait for the first round of assessments to end. Zhongqi looked at Long Fei, and the corner of his mouth hooked into a pleased and cold smile, and said, "Serves you right. Be quiet." Elder replied, "Rest for 3 minutes and continue to move out." A moment later, they continued to head deeper into the mountains. Bailey Tianhai said in a low voice, "Big brother, I feel that the outer door presbyter is targeting us." Long Fei smiled faintly. They should also be following the rules, there's no rush first. To him, Long Fei was not really afraid of anything. Bailey Tianhai said, "I need to earn my points back. I just asked around and since the score is negative, I will be accompanying you in the exam. We're basically going to be eliminated. No one has passed the first round of exams with a negative score yet. Big brother, what should we do next?" A round of swimming was enough to make the egg hurt. Long Fei said, "Don't be anxious, the examination has not ended. Everything has just begun." He wasn't worried. If he could reduce the score, he could add points. Just like Zhao Dahan just now, didn't he add points as well? For 2 days in a row, from the outer sect to the depths of the ancient mountains. From the beginning, he traveled hundreds of miles a day to now, he walked less than a kilometer an hour. Each time was extremely slow. "Quiet." An elder lowered his voice and said solemnly, "Hide your own aura." Everyone lowered their bodies and kept their auras. In the distance, bang, bang, bang. The sound of heavy footsteps came crashing over, as though a demon beast the size of a mountain was moving, causing the area of several kilometers to tremble. Trembling. The elders were each more nervous than the last. They were all frowning and breathing carefully. It wasn't an act. This was true fear. After half an hour, the sound of footsteps had completely disappeared. A few elders then let out a heavy sigh. This guy must be at least a level 8 demon beast king, right? It feels like its aura can crush my heart. It's too unbearable. This place is really not a place that humans can come to. Aren't you afraid that they'll all die if we send them to this place for the assessment? Let alone them, even we can't survive this. The few elders whispered to each other. During the conversation, he glanced at the disciples taking the exam just like he was looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. How could such a place survive? It was too difficult, even the slightest bit of carelessness would cause the demon beast to grind her into mincemeat. The leader of the elders coughed, and the elders who were discussing immediately shut their mouths. The great elder said, "You will soon reach your destination. Like I said, martial artists have no way out. If you want to enter the inner sect, you must accept this harsh test because your abilities are not strong enough. Otherwise, you will be selected during the rookie selection. So, do not be afraid. Fear will only weaken you. Powerhouse is fearless. Do you understand?" None of the disciples dared to say it out loud. Understood. All right. Keep going forward, the great elder lightly said. He could only comfort these disciples because most of them would die here. It was just like what those elders had said. Even if it was them, they wouldn't be able to survive for more than 3 days. There was even less of a need to talk about these disciples. Moreover, they had over 100 people. How big of a goal was this? Once they met any king-level demon beast, they would not be able to hold them off. However, this was the test. If you want to enter the inner sect, then you must put in more effort than others. This was the difference between a normal person and a genius. They had entered the inner sect during the genius rookie selection and were only ordinary people. They could only rely on this method to enter the inner sect. It was their only way to get ahead. The group of people moved around like ants. Fortunately, the level 8 demon beast did not return. In this kind of deep mountain, every beast king would have their own domain, so avoiding one demon beast would be a relatively safe place for the rest of the time, unless another one suddenly appeared. Half a day passed. The great elder swallowed with his Adam's apple rolling down his throat. His voice trembled slightly as he said, "Good, good, good. Your destination has arrived." He pointed to a dark valley ahead. At the entrance of the valley stood a wooden tablet. On the wooden tablet, there were 4 big words written on it: "Forbidden area for humans." Clearly, this was not a human word. Otherwise, it would not have been written in such an ugly manner. Furthermore, all of the words were written in the wrong style. The forbidden zone for humans. This is. Yes, is this the center of this ancient lie mountain? How many humanoid demon beasts are there? The demon emperor, or even the demon emperor? No, I don't want to stay here. I can't stay here. I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to go back now. The forbidden area for humans, the central region of the ancient lie mountain. The dangers of this place could no longer be described with words, as entering would mean death. No human dared to enter this place. Even the inner sect disciples did not dare to enter the ancient antiquity outer sect. Although they weren't here, they were well aware of the dangers of this place. One by one, the disciples started to retreat. His body continued to shrink backwards. Before he entered, his face had already turned pale, as if he was in hell. If he took one step forward, he would fall into the abyss. I want to leave this place. I give up. I give up too. Elder, take us back. I give up the assessment. Is this the inner sect examination? This is telling us to die, we're not going to survive at all. His voice trembled. The few elders communicated with each other through their eyes. The great elder said solemnly, "There is no way out for the martial arts training. If you want to enter the inner sect, you must enter. If you give up this time, you will never be able to enter the inner sect. I'll give you one more chance to choose." He came, but he didn't even give it a try before quitting. Even though the great elder had said this, many disciples still insisted, "I give up." Great elder, you are right, there is no path of retreat for the martial arts training, but the martial arts training has many choices. Giving up the assessment does not mean that there is a path of retreat. I give up too. I give up. I give up. He can't pass the examination at all. For a time, nearly a third of the people gave up on the test. To them, their lives were more important. If entering the inner sect was a life gamble, they would be willing to give up. The great elder's gaze tightened. He didn't think that so many people would leave the exam and felt a bit of heartache. After all, every disciple represented the outer sect's image. Dozens of people had to withdraw from the competition. This was a huge blow to the outer sect's image. However, Everyone has their own aspirations, they have the right to choose. With a light voice, he said, "All right, since you've made your choice, I won't force you. You all will follow us back to the ancient antiquity later. Everyone else, get ready. You will enter the valley in 10 minutes. Here, I would like to briefly introduce the criteria for your assessment. The first standard is to live on. The second criterion is still alive. The third criterion is still to live. As long as you come out alive, I can basically say that all of you will pass the first round of examination. Furthermore, training here for 3 days will be of great help to you guys, and when you meet a strong opponent in the future, you can also stay calm, fearless heart." After the great elder finished speaking, he looked at them with a heavy gaze. 10 minutes passed. The head elder said indifferently, "It's time to leave." Many disciples stood up. Amongst the crowd, Zhongqi coldly glanced at Long Fei, his eyes revealed killing intent, and secretly said, "Inside is a huge hunting grounds, just you wait. I will definitely kill you." The remaining 100 disciples entered the dark valley. When everyone had disappeared into the darkness, the great elder looked at the disciples who had given up the competition and said, "You don't even dare to try. This is not a choice, it is cowardice. All right. Take these people back." Deep Valley. Although it was called a valley, it was actually a huge caved-in mountain body. This place was incomparably huge, and one couldn't see the end of it. Clouds and mist shrouded the area as large trees covered the sky. Furthermore, it's easy to get lost once you enter. Even if you have war pets and flying beasts, it's useless here. He could only rely on his feet. "I am Zhongqi, come with me to this side. Follow me. I guarantee that everyone will survive." Zhongqi stood on a rock and spoke loudly. There were already many minions standing around him. "It's senior brother Zhong. He has already stepped into the immortal swordsman rank. Let's hurry over. I can't be wrong to follow him. Senior brother Zhong, bring us." Suddenly, dozens of people allied with Zhongqi. More than half of the others were also quickly forming an alliance. In such a dangerous place, they had to gather together in order to be safe and have a chance of survival. In less than 3 minutes, all the disciples had been divided into groups. Other than Long Fei's group, which had a little less people, the other groups had a few dozen people. No one was willing to go with Long Fei. Is there any hope of following someone with a negative score? Zhongqi coldly glanced at Long Fei, and laughed. "Long Fei, no one wants to take you, right? Kneel down and beg me, and I'll take care of you." The corner of Long Fei's mouth drew back, and said, "Did you not eat enough tea last time? You still want to eat more?" Zhongqi's pupils tightened, and said solemnly, "Brat, don't be too arrogant, as long as you form a team here, you will have a chance to live on. Do you think that just the few of you can survive here? If you kneel down and beg me now, you still have a chance. Otherwise, all of you will die within a day." Long Fei did not even bother about him. Idiot. Brainless. The smaller the target, the better. The more people the target, the higher the chance of them being discovered, and relying on their master swordsman rank's cultivation, it would be extremely useful. Any one of these 7-rating monster and beasts could make them pee their pants, let alone those of the Demon Emperor realm. The smarter ones would move out alone and quickly find a secluded place to hide. After 3 days, they would come out. Survive safely. For example, the Sword Immortal who had just entered the valley was also the #1 expert of the outer sect. He disappeared the moment he entered the valley. He was the smartest thing to do. Having so many members of the alliance would only let him die even faster. Long Fei said, "We will enter the valley and find a temporary base halfway up the mountain." Tianhai and I scored negative. We had to find a way to supplement our scores. Bailey Tianhai nodded his head and said, "Big brother, could it be that we are also acting here? It's only an inner court test. Do you have to let me take the test in such a dangerous place?" Long Fei said, "This time, it doesn't seem like it. Whether we are or not, we cannot let our guard down. You idiot, pave the way. Yun Shi, you behind us. The 5 elements are in the middle. I'll take care of everything. Don't panic when you encounter the mission demon beast. Do you understand?" Everyone nodded. Long Fei said solemnly, "All right, let's go." In the distance, the corner of Zhong Qi's eyes slightly narrowed. With a flip of his right hand, a dozen bugs that were as small as flies appeared. With a light tone, he said, "Watch them." Buzz buzz. A dozen or so bugs quickly flew out and disappeared into the darkness. In another place, a pair of dark and cold eyes coldly said, "The target has appeared." The valley was huge, and finding a safe place to hide was not that easy. The valley was huge, and finding a safe place to hide was not that easy. Long Fei and the group of 10 walked forward very slowly. This was because this was the central center of the ancient Lai Mountain. The demon beast that appeared here were not ordinary demon beast, but those kind of spirit demon king, the supreme spirit demon emperor level demon beast. If they found out. Actually, they had already discovered it. He just didn't make a move. Deep in the valley, in a dark demon building. The pagoda was divided into 9 floors, and each floor had a different shape. There were hexagram, runes, and even a domineering skeleton. The 9th floor was shaped like a giant ant's nest. This was the center of the ancient Lai Mountain. This was the center of power that controlled the entire ancient Lai Mountain. The 9th floor. A young man dressed in a purple and gold robe. He had a pair of white eyes, and his entire body exuded an irresistible demonic aura. The corner of his mouth slightly curled up, revealing an ice-cold smile. Ancient antiquity. Humph. Seems like he really is pushing his luck even further. They actually managed to get their hands on my doorstep in the inner sect examination? Do they really think that the demons of the ancient Lai Mountain are nothing more than turnips in front of my door? If you want to step on it, you can. If you want to, you can pull it out. Heh. The man's pupils constricted as white meridians appeared from the corners of his eyes. He looked like a member of the Chinese and Japanese families. A pair of white pupils filled with power, while the corners of his eyes were filled with meridians. At this moment, the entire valley was under his gaze as he watched. The position of each disciple, the movements of each disciple, and the words spoken by each disciple. He could feel it all. Humph. Just this bunch of muggle? The highest cultivation is only immortal swordsman rank. Is this group of people sent by fire arrogant god to die? The man said coldly. With a single glance, he could tell that everyone's cultivation base was beneath his nose. Not a single one fled. The fire arrogant god he mentioned was also the current sect master of the ancient antiquity. I wonder why the ancient antiquity's inner sect examination will be placed on our doorstep this year. What is fire arrogant god's intention? Send our disciples to our doorstep for us to kill? How can it be possible for him to be like this? Or could it be that he wants to temper these muggle? Training here? Aren't you asking for a beating? An old man with his back hunched and holding a black wooden walking stick said lightly. This was the ancient Lai Mountain. It was also within the domain of the ancient antiquity. Fire arrogant god had always been a heavy stone on top of the heads of demon clan. The ancient antiquities sect master was a super powerhouse of the emperor swordsman rank. None of the demon race could match him, so, for the past few years, the monster race had been hiding like a tortoise. However, even if they were afraid of the fire arrogant god, right now, ancient antiquity was bullying them at the door. How could he tolerate this? Indeed, he could not tolerate it. This was also why demon kings from many demon clan tribes would appear in the demon towers. Is fire arrogant god testing us? You want to know the bottom line of our tolerance? Another burly man who looked like a tiger said in a deep voice. His 2 eyes were like those of a tiger's before they had even evolved. Who cares? Since he dares to send his disciple over, don't blame us for being impolite. You're right. Do you really think we're afraid of him? Everyone said angrily. At this time, one of the elders coughed and said, then what about the peace agreement signed with the fire arrogant god? Have you considered this? They're only here for the assessment to gain experience, not to take action against the monster race. If they really did take action, we could counterattack, but now it's just the assessment. So, the old man looked up and said indifferently, Since fire arrogant God wants to test our bottom line, then we will also test his bottom line. If the ancient antiquity can take the examination, then we demi-humans can also take the examination. Everyone's eyes lit up. The purple-robed man said excitedly, Great Elder, do you mean to say that the elites of our tribes should be brought over and placed in the valley for the examination? The elder said lightly, That is not necessary. These disciples are just outer disciples. Their cultivation base is too weak. They are not qualified enough to be the elites of our clans. I think we should summon the surrounding demon kings. Give them a chance. Whoever kills more disciples will have the qualifications to enter the demon towers to cultivate. As soon as he finished, the entire palace was in an uproar. This is a good idea. We're going to turn this place into a killing field. Wrong. It's a battle of slaughter. It's too easy for a spirit demon king level demon beast to deal with these muggle people. Ha ha ha. At that time, even if the fire arrogant god were to go after us, we can just push it away. How brilliant. The goblin tribe was the goblin tribe, and the demon beast was the demon beast. What could be called a demon was the evolution of demon beast. The spirit demon race was of a higher level than the demon beast. The goblin tribe could command demon beastess. Demon beast only have the qualification to advance further after reaching king level, and this step requires the approval of the spirit demon race. Every single demon king had been waiting for this kind of opportunity their entire lives. After the monster race announced this mission, all the demon kings within 1,000,000 kilometers will gather here in less than half a day. A massacre. Long Fei frowned, he crouched down and stared into the depths of the valley. The people behind him all lowered their bodies, quietly waiting. After a long time, Bailey Tianhai then asked in a low voice, Big brother, what's wrong? Long Fei did not give a reason for his sudden halt. Long Fei shook his head and said, I feel like I'm being watched by one person, as if all of us are exposed to that one person's eyes. Zhao Dahan said, Why don't I feel it? Brothers of 5 Elements said in unison, I don't feel it either. Long Fei looked at Yun Shi, who shrugged and said, You should ask her. Yun Shi looked to the Phoenix. Phoenix giggled and said, Husband's lord, I. Long Fei gave her a glance and said, You little girl, what do you think you can feel? Not giving Phoenix the chance to speak. Long Fei's goal, even now, Long Fei still did not know. Even if Yun Shi knew that the Phoenix was not simple, he still could not expose everything it had. Phoenix pursed her lips. Yun Shi laughed, and said, I do not have any ill intentions. Long Fei also did not explain, and said, She's just a little girl, what else can she know? However, from Phoenix's eyes, Long Fei could tell that his senses were right. Just now, someone had been staring at him. Not just him, everyone in the valley. Who was this person? Was it a demon emperor level boss? Long Fei swallowed it all. When he thought of the boss, he could not help but get excited. The 3 things that made Long Fei the most excited were leveling up, killing the boss. The 3 things that made Long Fei the most excited were leveling up, killing the boss. This was especially true for bosses. It was an indescribable feeling, because you didn't know what the boss would drop. Many people played the game. Killing bosses every day was the most important part of it. When Long Fei thought about this demon emperor level boss in the valley, he became excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Heh. There's definitely no lack of bosses. I'll settle down the brothers first, then I'll go fight the boss alone. Long Fei's mouth curved upwards, revealing an excited smile. The group of 10 continued to search for a safe place to hide. After half a day, the entire valley was quiet, and not a single bird could be heard, let alone a demon beast. Not a single rabbit. This made many disciples fiercely heave a sigh of relief. Ha ha ha. Looks like this is the only place. It's not as scary as the rumors say. Those who give up would probably regret it if they knew the situation inside. This is fate. You're right, this is fate. The group of people chatted and laughed, gradually lowering their vigilance towards the surroundings. Zhongqi said heavily, Don't let your guard down, hurry up and dig out the bunker. Senior brother Zhong, there isn't even a single bird here, What kind of demon beast are you worried about? Demon Emperor? If I knew we were coming, I think I'd be scared off. Ha ha ha. Forbidden human territory? Who are you trying to scare? Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. Zhongqi and the idea shrank from 10 kilometers away. It was really too strange that it could not feel any of the demon beast's qi at all. However, he couldn't find the reason. It was as if this place wasn't the central hinterland. Zhongqi's guard was lowered by a lot. At this moment, all of the regiments lowered their guard, letting their guard down. The underground bunker project prepared by many people also began to slow down. Without demon beast, what kind of fortification would they need to do? Only Long Fei. Halfway up the mountain, there was a natural cave. The cave could hold around 20 to 30 people, so it was very comfortable if there were 10 of them. However, this kind of cave would be destroyed by a single punch from a demon beast if discovered. Therefore, what Long Fei needed to do was to disguise this cave. There are more dried leaves here. Try to be natural. I need to collect more. Long Fei commanded. This was the central hinterland. It was impossible for there to be no demon beast here. If there were no demon beast, there would at least be some small-sized beasts, but there was nothing here, just like a forbidden area. This was too abnormal. Adding to the fact that he was staring at all of them, Long Fei knew that there must be something going on in this valley. Before the demon beast appeared, what Long Fei needed to do was to find a good hiding place. Try to keep your life. After a while, if one did not observe closely, one would not be able to recognize that this was a cave. Within the cave, Brothers of 5 Elements was already cultivating. They had all swallowed up the 5 Elements rare source stone and, together with the incantation Long Fei gave them, they were slowly awakening the power of the 5 Elements in their bodies. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan meditated to recover their profound qi. The phoenix nestled into Long Fei's embrace, its small mouth pouting. My honey, my stomach is so hungry, I really want to eat barbecue. Yunxi glanced at the phoenix with some astonishment. Long Fei said, just bear with it for the next few days. When the first stage of the examination is over, I will treat you to a big meal. Phoenix's eyes immediately shone with a golden light. Really? Long Fei nodded, and said, Amen. Phoenix giggled and said, my honey is so good. Long Fei laughed and gently patted the phoenix's back. The phoenix also slowly closed its eyes and fell asleep. In the entire cave, only Long Fei and Yunxi were left with their eyes wide open. Long Fei said, take a rest first, I'll come watch tonight. Yunxi leaned on the rock and stared at Long Fei. Long Fei said, don't worry, I won't do anything to you. Yunxi rolled his eyes at Long Fei. Long Fei said sinisterly, I prefer to push things backwards. When have you thought it through? You can pounce on me. Hee hee. Yunxi said coldly, rascal. Long Fei said, hee, when the time comes, you will call me good big brother. Yunxi's eyes turned cold. After assaulting Yunxi a few times, Yunxi was no longer willing to cooperate. Long Fei looked at the night sky outside the cave, and said, there shouldn't be anything happening tonight, it's hard to say tomorrow morning. Yunxi said, this afternoon, I also felt that special gaze. According to the classification of the world of mortal world, it should be King Swordsman, and almost entered the Emperor Swordsman rank. It's the pinnacle powerhouse in the mortal world. Don't be silly. Yunxi reminded Long Fei, he did not want him to risk his life again. Long Fei laughed, seems like you have already fallen in love with me, or else why would you be so concerned about me? Are you afraid that I will die? Yunxi's eyes regained its coldness as he stared at Long Fei, as if he was going to tear Long Fei into two. Long Fei did not continue to tease Yunxi. He muttered under his breath, if even the gods want to do it, what kind of trash would a mere peak of the demon emperor be? Yunxi said, you are a reincarnated person, you need to experience the experience, walk the path of cultivation again, and not experience the endless amount of strength you gained in your past life. This will not benefit your cultivation at all. The way she spoke was as if Long Fei had just opened his mouth. Indeed. He was just opening up a trap, and it was not just a trap. Other than the power of the ancient dragon body, he also had an even more awesome trap system. Strength from my previous life. Hee hee. Long Fei smiled. What was his previous life? He was just an ordinary otaku from Earth. What kind of power could he have? As for Long Batian, he felt that he wouldn't admit that he was Long Batian. He was Long Fei. It was not a reincarnation of anyone. Not now, not in the future. The Demon Race Valley was completely silent. It was quieter than the night in ancient antiquity. During this entire day, he did not encounter any dangers, nor did he encounter any demon beast. He treated this place like it was a vacation place. However, outside the valley, a large group of people had already gathered. Boom, boom, rumble, rumble. The sound of footsteps shook the skies as all the demonic kings who were rushing over from every direction gathered together. No matter how loud the commotion was, not a single sound could be heard from the valley. The sound outside the valley was blocked. Every single one of them was a horde leader level existence. In the past, when they met each other, they had fought like madmen. But now, they were like an army, gathering together. Their gazes were fixed on the valley. It was as if there was someone in the valley that had killed their father. Whoever killed more humans would have the qualifications to enter the demon tower to cultivate and transform into a human. There were hundreds of them. This battle, terrifying to the extreme, at this moment. They were waiting for the dawn. The sky was dim and the entire valley was silent. The sky was dim and the entire valley was silent. None of the birds or insects made a sound. It was as if he was living in a quiet world. Silence. In this sort of place, it was actually the most worrisome. How could the center of the monster race be so quiet? But many disciples did not notice this. They were all thinking in a positive light. They thought that they would be able to live here comfortably for 3 days, and even if they passed the first round of the assessment, they would still be able to pass. How pleasant it was. In fact, even if a lot of disciples were to stay vigilant around here, they would not be able to hear a single sound from a demon beast for the whole night, so they would still relax. He didn't care. They also had the thought that they were lucky. Maybe there really were no demon beast here? Until the sky was white in the east, and a glimmer of light rose from the horizon. To the outer sect disciples inside the valley, it was still night, and they couldn't see their hands even though it was night. But to the monster army gathered outside the valley, it was already dawn. Do. A demon beast high up in the sky suddenly let out a howling sound. Boom, 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 boom. One by one, the demon kings opened their eyes, just like a heavy ship turning on its light. Under the dim light of the night, their eyes glowed with a deep green light. Every single one of them was emitting a strong sense of power. This was a primitive beast nature, and a strong sense of brutality was being released crazily from their bodies. Do. Another sound. In that instant, the demon beast stood up and took a heavy step forward. Rumble. There was an explosion and the area within hundreds of kilometers began to tremble. However, no such sound could be heard in the valley. It was as if the inside and outside of the valley were two completely different worlds. The valley was still peaceful and quiet, and the outer court disciples were all sleeping soundly as they dreamed of entering the inner court. No one knew that there were tens of thousands of demon beasts gathered outside the valley. Do. A third voice rang out. Boom boom boom, boom boom boom, boom boom boom. He took a deep breath and moved like thunder. The demon beast at the very front started to move, increasing its speed. As it stared at the valley, it seemed to transform into a heavy tank as it fearlessly charged forward. Catcher! Hualala! The towering tree had been smashed apart and uprooted. The scene was a mess, as if the world had been destroyed. The moment they rushed into the valley, the sound exploded. The originally silent valley seemed to explode in an instant. Bang, bang, boom, boom boom. Hearing the loud noise, many disciples woke up from their beautiful dreams. He stretched lazily and said with blurred vision, "What is that sound? So noisy, are you even letting me sleep? Who is it? It's not even dawn yet, is there still any morals?" Who the hell wants to die? Many people complained. However, as the footsteps got louder and louder, the ground started to shake. Only then did they suddenly wake up, and their tongues were even trembling. Is it the demon beast? Demon beast? Has the demon beast come yet? Faster. It's the demon beast. Rumble. When they finally reacted, an ancient mammoth appeared in front of them. It had a towering tree wrapped around its nose. Several disciples were so scared that their faces were as white as paper. They dared not to move as their lips turned purple. They raised their heads to look at the ancient mammoth above their heads. Boom. The giant elephant's nose rolled up the towering tree. No. No, no, no. Rumble. The towering tree crashed to the ground. Ah! One person let out a pig-slaughtering howl, and the scream abruptly stopped. Several people's corpses exploded, and their bodies were smashed into pieces by the giant tree, flying away. In the midst of this miserable scream, the examinees were all jolted awake. But it was already too late. Almost all the gathered demon beast rushed into the valley. In the first wave of attack just now, dozens of disciples died without even being able to react. Moreover, all of them had died miserable deaths. His body was basically smashed into mincemeat, and his broken limbs were everywhere. In the demon pavilion, the purple-robed man revealed a smirk. Ha ha ha. The slaughter has begun. A massacre. Ha ha ha. If his fire-arrogant god can get our disciple to take the examination on our doorstep, then we can also take the examination. Ha ha ha. I wonder how many of them will die this time. How many will die? They should all die here. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. Furthermore, with their physique, it could be said that these outer sect examination disciples were not a match for these spirit demon kings. Then again, the number of demon kings was twice that of the disciples taking the exam. How could they fight like this? There was no place to hide even if he wanted to. No matter if it is the sky or the ground, there is nowhere for you to hide. This was because there were all kinds of demon beast. Bunker, quick. Hide in the bunker. The bunker is safe. We can't find these demon beast. When they entered the bunker, they saw a circle of people curling up and shivering, but they were relieved when they saw that the demon beast's roars were getting farther and farther away. But, gulp. The sound of the ground cracking could be heard. Crack. A deep pit appeared in the bunker. A pangolin beast covered entirely in fine steel spurs suddenly dug out from the ground, its eyes gleaming with a green light. Ah! A blood-curdling screech rang out. The whole bunker sank in. Each and every one of the outer sect disciples who fell into the deep pit had their bodies pierced by spurs, and the deep pit was a gigantic trap. The spurs on those outer sect disciples who were still alive flew out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Every one of the spurs had hit the outer sect disciple in the forehead, and were like nails that were nailed to the wall. The armored giant beast scanned the area with its eyes and confirmed that there was no one alive in the bunker. It turned its body around, turned into a top, and disappeared into the ground. Up the tree. Jump between the trees. Using dense leaves to dodge. Faster. Several disciples leapt up onto the trees, and then rapidly jumped between the trees. This method allowed one to evade the attacks of the demon beast underground, and also allowed one to evade the attacks of the demon beastess that were on the ground. Each towering tree was over 100 meters tall, and the ground was dimly lit, so it was impossible to see them at first sight. However, while they were moving, bam! A large net covered everything. One of the disciples struggled for a while, but could not move at all. His entire body was stuck. There's a sticky net, senior brother, quickly come and save me. A huge spider web. When the disciples saw the change in their expressions, none of them went up to save her, but instead, they quickly made a detour. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several white threads were shot out and they all hit the target. Then with a single breath, several outer sect disciples were pulled into the net, like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. At this moment, a giant spider with flower patterns all over its body crawled out, its two fangs glowing with a dark green light. At this moment, a giant spider with flower patterns all over its body crawled out, its two fangs glowing with a dark green light. A head that resembled a human face. It was like releasing a cold smile. Seeing this scene, those disciples frantically struggled, trying to break free. However, the spider's eyes swept over them and a spider web shot out from its mouth. It directly bound a disciple, and then, the sharp claws pierced forward. The disciple no longer moved. He was killed instantly. Help! Help! I give up the exam, I give up. I don't want to join the inner sect anymore. Please, let me go. I want to go home, I want to go to my mother. Woo woo. All of them fell into despair. But there was no turning back on the martial arts training. From the moment they stepped into the valley to be examined, they had no way out. Life is like this. As they cried for help, spider webs sprayed out, binding them and killing them. In the sky and on the ground, there was nowhere to hide. All the disciples were like stray dogs, hiding and hiding, but no matter where they went, they would always encounter strong demon beast. The difference in strength was too great. They had no way to fight back. Furthermore, there were too many demon beasts, so they could not deal with them. Demon beast ran amok, with unstoppable momentum. The outer sect disciples of the ancient antiquity were defeated, and countless died. After a short exchange, the outer court disciples were already unable to hold on, over half of them had died. Ha ha ha. A bunch of ants dare to take the test on our doorstep? Humph. Fire arrogant god, do you really think that the disciples of your ancient antiquity are that strong? In my opinion, they are just a bunch of trash. Ha ha ha. In the demon building. All the humanoid demon beast laughed out wildly. They had all seen what had just happened in the valley. This was a slaughter, and there wasn't even a hint of resistance. Humans only know how to run, they don't even have any strength at all. Humans are born cowardly. When we, the demon emperor, come out of seclusion and defeat the fire-arrogant god, the billions of kilometers of land would be ours, ha ha ha. You're right. As long as Lord Demon Emperor has comprehended the formless emperor technique, then the fire-arrogant god is definitely not a match for him. The humiliation from last time can be messed with. When the time comes, I will be the vanguard and kill everyone in ancient antiquity. Killing intent filled the eyes of the purple-robed man. A thick killing intent. Her white eyes swept the area. Suddenly, he saw a spot on the hillside on the right side of the valley. So smart. If I didn't know the art of Eye of Darkness, I wouldn't have been able to discover this place. In his eyes, there were 10 people hiding in the cave. If it wasn't for the strength of his white pupils, he would never have noticed this place with his naked eyes. It was too secretive. His aura was also extremely weak, which could not be detected by the spirit demon king realm demon beast. The corner of the purple-robed man's mouth curled up as he sneered, "No matter where you hide, it's useless, you will all die. All of you will die." And then, his idea slightly moved. In the valley, a purple python with a phoenix tail suddenly changed its direction and directly attacked the hillside. The purple-robed man laughed coldly. "Where are you hiding? Hee hee. Just wait for your death." On the hillside, within a hidden cave, Long Fei's eyes were like an eagle's as he observed his surroundings. Starting from dawn, he was the first to find out about the demon beast entering the valley. He knew very well. How could it be safe in the middle of a demon clan's territory? Hearing the demon beast's roars and the human screams from within the valley, Long Fei knew that this time, the outer court disciple who had received the monster siege had suffered a crushing defeat. "A lot of people died, right?" Phoenix muttered. Long Fei nodded his head and said, "Yes, quite a lot of them died." Phoenix's expression was slightly downcast. Her pupils gently changed as she asked in a low voice, "Why would someone die?" Long Fei looked at the phoenix. "Yoon," she said indifferently, "survival of the fittest, survival of the powerhouse, whether here or in the divine space, these are all rules of survival. It is the same between people, before demons and before demons, before gods and before gods, and even before races. The powerhouse is the king, no matter what race you are from. Death is something that every race has to face." This was reality. Long Fei thought so too, but he did not say anything, because he cared about the feeling of the phoenix. Long Fei said indifferently, "Girl, do you want them all to live?" Phoenix raised her head, looked at Long Fei, and said, "My honey, I don't care what is happening outside. I only care about you." He he. Long Fei cared about the phoenix, and the phoenix also cared about Long Fei. It was a mess outside. Demon Beast wreaked havoc, and if they were to go out at this time, they would simply be throwing their lives away. She didn't want Long Fei to take the risk. Long Fei smiled lightly, "Silly girl, there is no one in this world who can kill me. Wait here." Long Fei stood up. It was also at this time. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan immediately stood up and said at the same time, "Big brother, I will go with you." Long Fei said, "All of you stay here and cultivate. I find that the power of the holy source is extremely abundant, and will be of great help to your cultivations." The phoenix also pulled at the corner of Long Fei's clothes and said, "My honey, don't go. I was wrong just now." Just like what big sister Yunxi said, survival of the fittest is the law of survival of the fittest. I shouldn't have said something like that. Long Fei smiled lightly, and said, "There are some things that I shouldn't do. How would I know if that's impossible?" "Don't worry, I will." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei suddenly frowned. Yunxi also smiled faintly, and said, "There's no need for you to go out, there's already people heading this way." How strange. Logically speaking, although these monster kings are very strong, their intelligence isn't high. They shouldn't know of this place. Could it be? Long Fei did not continue, and said, "Since you're already here, let's start with this." Long Fei walked out of the cave. At this moment, the purple crown phoenix tail python pounced like a bolt of lightning, instantly pouncing in front of Long Fei. It twisted its body, and the front half of its body suddenly stood up. In a superior position. Directly swallowing down Long Fei. Long Fei slightly lifted both his eyes, smirked, and said indifferently, "I'll start from you." 3-rate ancient dragon body. Open. The aura on its body abruptly changed, and a dragon's roar erupted. The surrounding space trembled, and upon hearing this dragon roar, the body of the violet crown phoenix-tailed python trembled slightly. At this moment, Long Fei disappeared in place. The giant python slightly panicked as it looked around. In the air, Long Fei held the great sword on his shoulder, his lips curled slightly, and laughed, "I am here." The giant python's eyes narrowed, and a poisonous mist was about to shoot out from its mouth. However, the great sword on Long Fei's shoulder moved, holding onto it with both of his hands, he cut down heavily. Hualala. Explode. It furiously slashed down. It furiously slashed down. The sword broke into 2 halves. The purple crown phoenix tail python's body was split into 2, the blood groove above its head instantly turned into 0. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing the purple crown phoenix tail python. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining purple crown heart. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining purple crown phoenix tail python spirit blood. Do you wish to swallow it? 1 sword kill. When Long Fei landed, the system beep was already over. Without looking back, he strode down the hill. Rumble. The body of the snake collapsed as blood splattered all over the ground. So powerful. Yunxi said softly, after not seeing her for 1 night, "My power has increased a little. Is the dragon race's talent so abnormal? Why didn't you notice it before?" The dragon race's innate skills were not particularly strong in the divine space. If they were strong, they wouldn't have been wiped out. Phoenix giggled and said, "Big sister Yunxi, my husband is handsome, right?" He he. Yunxi looked at Phoenix and asked, "How did you meet him, or have you always been by his side?" A dragon and a phoenix. In the primordial era of the divine space, there were 2 great families that were related by marriage. It was just that after the fall of Long Batian, the dragon clan had slowly declined, and various powerhouses went to challenge the Dragon Vein Mountain. Nearly every time the dragon clan was defeated, they would cut the ground to compensate for the loss, and the Phoenix clan would have been implicated, If not for the Phoenix clan constantly helping the Dragon clan, their decline would have been even faster. However, even with the help of the Phoenix clan, it was unable to withstand the changes in time. Years passed. After a year and a year, the relationship between the two races slowly faded. In the billions of years of time, there were practically no more marriages between the Phoenix and Dragon races. One dragon and one Phoenix were together. This was the first time she had ever seen one. Phoenix smiled and said, "I have always been by my honey's side. I feel like I know him in my previous life. No. To be exact, I should have met him in his previous life." This feeling had existed since the first time she saw Long Fei. Yunshi gave a shallow smile and said, "You too. Is it to be a marriage alliance between dragons and phoenixes?" Phoenix smiled and said, "I will definitely marry him." Yunshi asked, "Will the elders of your Phoenix clan agree? Do you know what happened to the dragons?" The dragon race of the Dragon Vein Mountain were exterminated in one move by the Emperor Xian, and there were less than 10 people of the dragon race in the divine space. The Dragon clan was in a precarious situation. At any moment, they could be exterminated forever. No matter how strong Long Fei was, what could he do? A single person to support the entire dragon race? It might have been possible in the past, but now, the chances of that happening were close to zero. Everyone in the divine space knew the power of the Emperor Xian. He was backed by an alien power, and his rise to power was due to the support of an alien power. Long Beixian's death was also because of the foreign forces. Long Fei wanted the dragon race to rise in power, so the Emperor Xian was an insurmountable mountain. If the dragon race was already like this, how could the divine Phoenix race marry each other? Isn't that the same as including the entire Phoenix race? Definitely not. She knew what was happening in the Dragon Vein Mountain. It was because she was so stubborn that she wanted to go to the Dragon Vein Mountain to find the person in her heart, causing her to be found out and be hunted down. She also knew that the Divine Phoenix clan would not allow her to be with Long Fei. However, she believed in Long Fei, and she believed in herself. They would definitely be together. Rumble. Awoo. With a loud wail, another spirit demon king demon beast was killed. Phoenix recovered her expression, her face revealed a cute smile, and said, "No matter what happens, I will always be with my honey." Yunshi was slightly stunned, but in the end, he also laughed, and thought to himself, "Long Fei, just how charismatic are you?" Yunshi did not think too much about it. Rumble. 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 Within the valley, rumbling sounds could be heard as the spirit demon king demon beast kept attacking. All sorts of crushing blows. Long Fei jumped up heavily and landed on top of a demon beast's head. With a move of his great treasure sword, he directly pierced into the brain of the spirit demon king demon beast. Awoo! With a wail, the demon beast's body fell from midair. Long Fei's gaze swept across the place and shouted, "All of you, come to me!" Bang, bang, bang. From the forest, the ancient mammoth dashed out at an astonishing speed. Wherever it went, trees that reached the sky would be smashed apart. The long elephant nose rolled up, hua la la. A towering tree was uprooted by it, and with a push of its legs, it leaped up. It was a black mass, and the enormous elephant seemed to have flown up. The shadow pressed down. That towering tree smashed towards Long Fei like a hammer. Hua la la. Hua la la. Space itself seemed to distort. In the demon pavilion, the purple-robed man stared at Long Fei. Long Fei consecutively killed a few spirit demon king demon beastess made him extremely unhappy. Seeing the ancient mammoths make a move, he laughed coldly. "This time you definitely won't be able to live." The ancient giant elephant was considered one of the best demon beast amongst the Goblin King. The strength of its huge elephant was extremely brutal. In addition, the defense on his body was also abnormally strong. Let alone a towering tree, even if it was a rock mountain, he would still be able to forcibly knock it off. Just wait for death. Waves of pressure from the Demon King descended. It was as if invisible powers were surging into his mind. This kind of pressure was very strong. If it was a master swordsman rank warrior, he would be crushed to the point that he could not even move. But Who is he? With the ancient dragon body on his body, this kind of mere pressure had no effect on him at all. Not to mention being unable to move, it was even weaker than tickling. He watched as the towering tree smashed down at him, his body sinking slightly. Whoosh! He took a step into the air and waved the great sword a few times. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sword chi burst out, cutting the towering tree into several pieces. It didn't have the slightest bit of strength, and immediately scattered in all directions. The ancient mammoth let out an angry roar, and the giant elephant runes on its body started glowing. Roar! Mighty elephant stomp! The gigantic elephant leg in the air trampled down heavily on Long Fei, who was flying towards it. Crash! Crash! Rumble! The trampling power was like the rumbling of thunder. One after another, visible glows of energy shot towards Long Fei. Bang! 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 Every sound caused space to distort. The entire valley was filled with the power of the shockwave. Many people raised their heads to look at Long Fei. I'm going to die now. Is he sick? I'm going to die. Even if he wants to die, don't drag us down. The consequences of angering this demon king is unimaginable. This guy is a scourge. Many people hated Long Fei. Long Fei was helping them. It was one thing if they didn't know how to be grateful, but why did he scold them with contempt? This was the human heart. However, Long Fei did not care about all these. He wasn't fighting for the outer sect disciples, he was fighting for the phoenix. Facing the mighty elephant stomp, Long Fei's pupils changed, rank 4 dragon body, open. The power of the 3-rate dragon body was enough. The power of the 3-rate dragon body was enough. But a stomp would result in a stomp that was even more thorough. Would never waste energy to use 2 moves if he could do one. The 3-rate dragon body might not be able to instantly kill the ancient Big Bang, but a level 4 ancient dragon body. That was different. Level 4 ancient dragon body, open, boom. With a roar of the energy in his body, strength stripes shot out one after another. Their entire bodies were suffused with the aura of dragons. He let the power of the ancient mammoth stomp onto his body. Boom. Boom. The strength of the mighty elephant stomp did not cause the slightest bit of damage on his body. An invisible air shield blocked all of the damage on his body. Whoosh. With a step in the air, Long Fei's body became like a sword image, flying straight up into the air. Under the sunlight, a black shadow slashed down. Die. As the sword fell, it transformed into a dragon-shaped sword chi. The sword energy slashed out angrily. The body of the ancient mammoth emitted a faint glow. Long Fei landed on the ground. He sheathed his sword. The ancient mammoth's body trembled slightly as its eyes widened in fury. Waves of hoarse roars came out of its throat, and before it could even utter a word, its body suddenly ruptured. Crash. With a sound, his body split into 2, blood, organs surging out, his huge body fell down, landing on Long Fei's 2 sides. Boom, boom. A deep crater formed on the ground. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing ancient giant elephant demon king. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining ancient giant ivory. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining mighty elephant stomp. This kind of thing was not high enough. Long Fei did not even look at its attributes. He swept the area with his gaze. Long Fei coldly snorted, and said, "Do you think humans are easy to bully? You are actually thinking highly of your demon clan by taking the test here. Why are you not showing your face? If you have the ability, then come at me. See how I'll take care of you, beast." After Long Fei finished speaking, the restless surroundings suddenly quietened down. His words were too arrogant. Although the intelligence of these spirit demon kings were not high, they were able to understand Long Fei's words and were very clear on the meaning behind them. Long Fei was looking down on them. This caused all of them to be filled with rage. Not just them. The demon emperors on the demon tower were also furious. This is too arrogant. Who does he think he is? Even the fire-arrogant god would not dare to be so arrogant. A mere outer sect examination disciple dares to be so presumptuous. What does he think of our demon valley? What do you take us demi-humans for? Elder, let me give him 2 ears, let us demons teach him how to conduct himself. I'll go too. All of them were filled with righteous indignation. S words made him extremely angry. If the ancient antiquity of the ancient antiquity had said such words, they would have accepted it as well. However, the person who said those words was just an outer sect examination disciple. They really did not place their demon clan in their eyes. Just as the elder was about to speak, he noticed that the purple-robed man had disappeared. The great elder frowned. What about the ancient regions? Everyone's gaze swept across the area and discovered that the ancient regions had already disappeared when they were still in a fit of rage. Let him go. Let him teach this kid a lesson. Let's see how arrogant he can be. Will something happen to the Elders Guild? After all, the peace agreement. Who asked him to be so arrogant? With the agreement, logically speaking, they could not use the powerhouse of the Demon Emperor realm, but they could not tolerate Long Fei's words. Demi-humans were naturally very irritable and easily angered. Long Fei treated the spirit demon race as animals, and said that the spirit demon race was a bunch of scum. The purple-robed man was the first to be unable to endure. In the forest around Long Fei, a pair of ghastly green eyes opened. Their pupils slowly changed, turning into something like a ball of flame. He was furious. All of them were infuriated. Moreover, he had instantly entered a berserk state. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he said lightly, "Come, don't hide anymore. Give me as much as you have and I'll pack it up together. Don't waste my time." Bam! A towering tree suddenly fell down, smashing straight towards Long Fei. And at this moment, all the Goblin King-level demon beast in the surroundings rushed out, instantly filling the sky with sand, and their footsteps made the entire valley tremble. Within the cave, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan could not sit still. The 2 of them rushed out of the cave. Phoenix wanted to go out, but was stopped by Yun Shi, and said, "He won't let you out, we'll stay here." "Don't worry, he'll be fine." Phoenix said, "I know, I just want to see more of my honey's handsome look." Yun Shi laughed, "Anyway, I can see it every day." "Can you see it every day?" Phoenix's voice was somewhat low, but her heart secretly tightened. She then raised her head to look outside the cave and said, "That's right, I can see it every day." Spirit demon kings rushed at Long Fei, revealing fangs, venom, or a strong physique. They exploded forth with their strongest power. He wanted to crush Long Fei to pieces. He had to let Long Fei know that there was a price to be paid to act so arrogantly in the goblin tribe. Suddenly, Long Fei had dozens of demon beasts around him. In the sky and on the ground, they surrounded him from all directions. Right now, Long Fei had no way of escaping. Of course, he did not want to escape either. The great sword moved. With a slight raise of his forehead, he let out a light breath. The aura of a rank 4 dragon instantly exploded, and his robe fluttered. Hualala! Hualala! His body was burning with power and streams of white smoke shot out. His hair was also swaying towards the sky. He took a step forward. Long Fei said solemnly, "Ascending dragon, tyrant Wyrm, all of you must die." The sword moved like a madman. After a few swings, the sword moves suddenly changed. It rose up abruptly from the ground, as if it was a sword move. At this moment, the demon beast that fell to the ground was penetrated by the powerful sword chi and instantly killed. The sword chi broke through the ground and formed many super tyrant WMS. Raw, raw, raw. Eating one mouthful after another was like eating a little chick. Those extremely vicious demon beasts, those who had been in a state of fury, were all swallowed by Long Fei's sword energy, the tyrant WM. These demon beasts did not even have time to react. Instant kill. In just 3 seconds. Bang, bang, bang. Dozens of demon beasts fell from the sky, each in a state of death. In the blink of an eye, it became like a small mountain. The system beep also crazily sounded. Long Fei swept his gaze across them and laughed coldly. Who else? The herd of oxen were crushed like dried weeds. There were also some demon beast that retreated in fright, not daring to advance. Scum. Long Fei laughed in disdain. And it was also at this moment that his brows secretly tightened, and his face went gloomy. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.